Chapter 326. This piece of news was that the top 8 city creation stones had all been claimed. This gave Zhao Fu a big fright, and he hurriedly went to his system main city, feeling incredibly nervous. Nothing must happen to that city upgrade stone. Very quickly, Zhao Fu went to the exchange stone steel and found that the city upgrade stone was still there. Zhao Fu quickly exchanged for the city upgrade stone, and looking at the square-shaped stone that gave off a violet light, Zhao Fu felt completely at ease. Back to Qin City. Now that Zhao Fu had collected 5 damaged city hearts, Zhao Fu didn't wait any longer and directly destroyed his 5 silver-grade villages. This made Zhao Fu feel quite pained. It wasn't easy to obtain these silver-grade villages. Holding the 10 damaged city hearts, Zhao Fu went to the Universal Denver. This den was only a basic den because it hadn't leveled up yet. Dens were different from villages, and it was impossible to distribute the EXP. Dens had to spawn creatures to kill other creatures in order to level up, so it was impossible to distribute the EXP from a village to a denver. The Grey Wolf Den and Black Forest Horse Den happened to be advanced dens because they often fought with Qin City soldiers and earned a lot of EXP. This was because the Universal Den only spawned void beasts, and even though void beasts were incredibly fast, they were only suited for running and couldn't attack. As such, the Universal Den had always been a basic denver. After coming to the Universal Den, Zhao Fu chose to start leveling it up. The 10 Rubik's Cubes, which were covered with cracks, gave off a faint silver light and slowly floated towards the orb of mud that continuously gave off a silver light. Following this, the orb of mud and the 10 Rubik's Cubes slowly fused together, giving off a blinding silver light as a massive pressure spread out in all directions. Within the orb of silver light, a trace of golden light started to appear. This trace of golden light became stronger and stronger, and more of it appeared while the silver light gradually decreased. Finally, a golden light shot into the sky, and the Universal Den successfully leveled up to gold grade. Now, the Universal Den stats allowed him to obtain a void beast every 2 days. Zhao Fu took out the upgrade stone and chose to use it. The leveled stone turned into a violet ray of light and shot towards the ball of mud that gave off a golden light, and the two of them once again fused. Following this, another streak of purple light shot into the sky. The Universal Nest had been successfully upgraded to legendary quality. Now, the Universal Den could spawn a void beast every day. After the wyvern egg hatched, it would spawn wyverns. Right now, it only spawned void beasts. Normally, a void beast would respawn every 3 days. Every 3 days, Qin would open up a path to another area. Currently, a void beast could respawn once a day, but the time to go to other regions wouldn't change. The void beast would still open a new region every 3 days. This was because every region was as big as a province, and they had to make all sorts of preparations. 3 days was already quite fast. As for the void crystals, Zhao Fu decided to keep them. After all, the Universal Den would be given to the wyverns, so void beasts wouldn't be able to spawn anymore. Now, the void crystals would be put to good use. The first batch of void beasts had already condensed void crystals, so they would also be put to good use. The matters regarding the Universal Den concluded here. Even though there had been some twists and turns, Zhao Fu's goal had been achieved. He let out a sigh of relief, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. In the remaining time, Zhao Fu went to Seeping River to fish. It was only the 3rd day of the Divine Fish Festival, and there were still 4 days left. Zhao Fu's goal was still city creation stones. Even though he wouldn't be able to get into the top 10, the more city creation stones he had, the better. After returning to Seeping River, Zhao Fu started to leisurely fish, and he didn't seem to be in a rush. He returned the fishing rod he had borrowed from Bai Qi, and he continued to use the One World Rod to fish. Zhao Fu continued to fish up divine fish one after another. Most of them were golden and violet divine fish, and there were very few orange divine fish. Even though Zhao Fu's points couldn't compare to anyone else's, no one could compare to Zhao Fu in terms of the number of rare fish he had. Zhao Fu's fish jewels were also quite shocking. Zhao Fu had obtained 4,482 fish jewels from silver divine fish, 5,213 fish jewels from gold divine fish, 2,684 fish jewels from violet divine fish, and 7 fish jewels from orange divine fish. What moved Zhao Fu the most were the fish jewels from violet divine fish and orange divine fish. The violet divine fish jewels could give gold-grade items, while the orange divine fish jewels could give legendary grade items. Now that he wasn't in a rush, Zhao Fu thought about the 7 fish jewels from orange divine fish and felt quite tempted, so he decided to take a look. Zhao Fu chose to open the first fish jewel, and it gave off a bright orange light before turning into an orb of light. The light slowly faded, revealing a horn. This horn was azure and seemed to be made of jade. It gave off a ferocious aura, and it was most likely the horn of a ferocious beast. This horn was undoubtedly a legendary grade item. Zhao Fu opened another fish jewel, and after the light faded, a talisman paper appeared in front of Zhao Fu. This talisman paper was violet and had runes drawn on it with blood, and it gave off a powerful and mysterious aura. Blood Unseal uses a talisman master's blood to create a powerful unseal talisman that can remove all seals. Zhao Fu looked at this talisman paper and felt that it was useless, so he put it away and opened the third fish jewel. This time, the light faded and a massive object appeared in front of Zhao Fu. It was a wooden pillar that was 1 meter wide and 3 meters long. It was a faint red color and gave off a powerful suppressive sealing power. It was most likely a sealing item. Mountain Stabilizing Pillar, a sealing pillar made from spirit wood that was over 1,000 years old. It has powerful sealing effects and suppressive power, and it can seal anything within a 10,000-meter radius. After looking at it, Zhao Fu put it away and felt that it wasn't very useful. The fourth fish jewel gave materials. The fifth fish jewel gave a spear. The sixth fish jewel gave a round shield. These were all legendary grade items, and after looking at their stats, Zhao Fu put them all away and looked at the final fish jewel. Zhao Fu once again opened it, and after the light faded, he found that it was a saber. The saber was about 3 fingers wide, and it was quite short, only about 1 meter long. It was a fiery red color and gave off a large amount of heat. Scorching Saber Intent. This item has a trace of a powerful saber intent sealed within it. It is a dangerous item and can only be used 3 times. Zhao Fu felt that this item was quite good, and he could use it in times of danger in the future, because that saber intent was, suddenly, something bit onto the bait, causing a massive splash. A shocking force pulled on the fishing line, and Zhao Fu's body and boat were pulled deeper into the water. Chapter 327. Zhao Fu was given a big fright, and he tightly gripped onto the fishing rod. However, that force was simply too powerful, and even though Zhao Fu was using all of his strength, he was still unable to resist it, and he continued to be pulled by that thing. It's most likely a gigantic fellow, and it's definitely not small. Feeling this massive force, Zhao Fu couldn't help but guess. He didn't want to be outdone, and he circulated his king's power as he tightly gripped onto the fishing rod. Under the 2 massive forces, the fishing line was pulled taut, and the fishing rod was slightly bent. It seemed that the legendary grade fishing rod was in danger of breaking. Zhao Fu continued to hold onto the fishing rod. He didn't know what this fellow was. It could be a divine fish, or it could also be a fish monster that lived in Seeping River. However, it definitely wasn't ordinary, and there was no way that Zhao Fu would let it go. As such, he definitely wouldn't let go. That thing continued to pull Zhao Fu's boat forwards. Because Zhao Fu was tightly gripping onto the fishing rod, the speed at which the boat was being pulled was quite slow. Otherwise, the boat would have been sent flying. Neither side wanted to lose, making this battle quite difficult. Right now, whoever ran out of strength first would lose. Zhao Fu understood this, so he wasn't in a hurry to pull the fellow up. After all, even if Zhao Fu wanted to, he wouldn't be able to pull the fellow up. As such, he could only wait for the fellow to run out of strength before pulling back. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. An hour later, that thing's strength finally started to weaken, and the force pulling on the fishing rod lessened. At that moment, Zhao Fu started to use all of his strength to lift the fishing rod, while the fellow vigorously resisted. The two of them once again started to fight back and forth. Half an hour later, that fellow's strength finally ran out, and Zhao Fu took this opportunity to use all of his strength to lift the fishing rod. A massive figure slowly appeared under the water. This was a divine fish that looked like a whale. It was 3 meters long and completely white, but it gave off a red, green, and blue light. Zhao Fu felt quite delighted. This 3-color divine fish was even rarer than the orange divine fish, and most people wouldn't even be able to see it. By now, the 3-color divine fish didn't have much strength left, and Zhao Fu pulled it out of the water. The divine fish turned into countless 3-colored motes of light and entered Zhao Fu's body. System announcement. Congratulations, you have caught a divine whale. You have received 5,000 divine fish points. Being able to obtain 5,000 divine fish points from a single divine whale was quite good. That was equivalent to 500 or so gray divine fish. However, what disappointed Zhao Fu was that there was no fish jewel for the 3-colored fish jewel. If this 3-color divine fish gave a fish jewel, it would be an epic grade item, which made Zhao Fu feel quite excited. It seemed that spending so much time fishing this divine fish jewel had been a waste. If he had spent so much time fishing for any other fish, he would have long since earned more than 5,000 divine fish points. Even though he hadn't received much, Zhao Fu was quite surprised and delighted that he could catch a 3-color divine fish here. By now, the sky had turned white and the night had faded away. The 4th day of the Divine Fish Festival had arrived, and Zhao Fu decided to continue fishing on Seeping River. He hoped that he could catch a few more divine whales and obtain a few epic-grade fish jewels. The weather was quite good in the morning, and the sun was shining brightly. However, at noon, dark clouds covered the sky, and Zhao Fu felt quite hot. However, not long after, the sky began to drizzle, and the dry and hot feeling instantly disappeared. Zhao Fu suddenly thought of the One World Rod's 4th state, which allowed him to transform into a raincoat. This was the perfect time to use it, and Zhao Fu used it out of curiosity. The One World Rod gave off a faint light as a conical bamboo hat and raincoat appeared and automatically covered Zhao Fu's body. The conical bamboo hat and raincoat looked quite ordinary, and Zhao Fu found that they had a recovery effect. This recovery effect could recover all stats, such as stamina, cultivation, and fatigue. It was quite a good effect. It was currently raining, and it was quite suitable for fishing. After all, fish would float to the surface and breathe in the fresh air. Zhao Fu guessed that this was the same for divine fish, and it would be best if he could catch a 3-color divine fish. Ever since the last time, Zhao Fu hadn't caught a 3-color divine fish yet. There were very few of them. Suddenly, Zhao Fu found that a whirlpool had appeared in front of him. This whirlpool was only 2 meters wide, and because it was 100 meters away from Zhao Fu didn't pay much attention to it. However, the whirlpool suddenly expanded by 100 meters, pulling Zhao Fu into it. Zhao Fu was quite surprised, but he reacted in time and sent his king's power into the boat, causing it to struggle free. However, less than a second after Zhao Fu escaped, the whirlpool expanded by 10,000 meters. The sound of such a massive whirlpool was quite shocking, and the center of the whirlpool gave off a massive suction force, making it seem like a massive mouth that could devour anything. Zhao Fu's boat was also pulled towards the massive mouth. Zhao Fu frowned, and he once again tried to use his king's power to struggle free. However, it was a pity that Zhao Fu found that it was useless. The suction force of the whirlpool was simply too great, and if Zhao Fu didn't resist, he would be sucked into the center of the whirlpool in less than a second. If he was sucked into the center of such a massive whirlpool, he definitely wouldn't have a good ending. Zhao Fu unleashed his king's domain, and a 4-meter wide black barrier covered the boat. The king's domain had absolute control over the boat, and it resisted the suction force. This time, the boat was able to resist, and it started to struggle free from the whirlpool. However, before Zhao Fu could rejoice, the massive whirlpool expanded to 100,000 meters wide, and more than half of the river was sucked in. The sound it gave off were incredibly terrifying, and it seemed like a disaster. Zhao Fu didn't hesitate to give up on the boat and use his flight stone to escape. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu felt a powerful energy lock down the sky, making it impossible for him to use his flight stone. At that moment, Zhao Fu felt quite startled and felt that the situation was quite bad. He immediately unleashed his king's domain with all of his strength, expanding it to 100 meters wide. He struggled free from the suction force and quickly escaped from the whirlpool. However, things didn't end so quickly. The whirlpool expanded to millions of kilometers wide, and it gave off an aura that seemed to devour the heavens and devour the earth. The entire seeping river was stirred up, and the ordinary people on the shore were so scared that they ran far away. A powerful suction force came from the center of the whirlpool, and even the rocks and grass on the shore were sucked in. The sky darkened, and the scene was quite terrifying. Zhao Fu's boat couldn't resist at all, and even though Zhao Fu used his full strength, it was completely useless. It was continuously sucked into the depths of the whirlpool. At the center of the whirlpool, Zhao Fu found a 10-meter-long fish. Chapter 328. Seven-Colored Divine Fish. Zhao Fu looked quite confused as he stared at this fish. He had thought that a 3-color divine fish would be quite good, but now there was a 7-color divine fish. This was simply too delightful. However, this 7-color divine fish was not easy to deal with, as it ferociously stared at Zhao Fu as if it was looking at its prey. This 7-color divine fish had been attracted by Zhao Fu's bait, but did not care about the fish that had eaten Zhao Fu's blood. Instead, it stared at Zhao Fu, wanting to swallow Zhao Fu whole. Zhao Fu quickly thought about how to deal with this, and he was dragged by the whirlpool towards the 7-color divine fish. The 7-color divine fish opened its mouth, preparing to eat Zhao Fu. The whirlpool had a massive attractive force, and with Zhao Fu's current strength, it was impossible for him to escape. Could it be that he had to use his nation armament again? The boat spun around in the whirlpool, getting closer and closer to the 7-color divine fish. However, the 7-color divine fish seemed to be quite impatient, and it swam toward Zhao Fu. The 7-color divine fish opened its mouth, giving off a massive attractive force, as if it was about to devour Zhao Fu. At that moment, Zhao Fu stood on the boat and narrowed his eyes as he took out a fiery red short saber. He gripped the hilt with both hands and sent his king's power into it, causing the short saber to give off a large amount of flames. A massive wave of heat spread out, and the surrounding water seemed to be boiling, causing bubbles and white smoke to rise. "Ark!" Zhao Fu loudly roared as he raised the short saber and slashed at the 7-color divine fish. A saber chi containing an extremely hot aura slashed out, and the entire world seemed to become a world of fire as the sharp saber chi slashed towards the 7-color divine fish. The 7-color divine fish was given a big fright, and it controlled the water to form water shields. However, they were all slashed apart by the saber chi. Roar! The rainbow divine fish cried out in pain as a deep wound appeared on its body, and golden blood continuously flowed out. This rainbow-colored divine fish really did seem to have a life of its own. Its golden eyes were so furious that they seemed to want to kill Zhao Fu. Swish, swish, swish. The rainbow divine fish formed hundreds of pillars of water and ferociously attacked Zhao Fu from all directions. Zhao Fu once again slashed out with his saber, and a huge fiery saber light slashed out. It shattered the water column that was crashing towards it. This was the power of saber intent. It was also the power of states, a power that could only be grasped after comprehending the world origin. Seeing that the situation was far from good, the rainbow divine fish turned and tried to run. After all, it was only a product of an event, so it wasn't very powerful. The massive whirlpool went out of control, and massive amounts of water crashed toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu unleashed his king's domain. He wouldn't let the rainbow divine fish escape. Zhao Fu slashed out with his saber with all of his strength. A terrifying saber light that was hundreds of meters long split the water in half, and it sent the escaping rainbow divine fish flying. The rainbow divine fish crashed into a massive boulder in the middle of the river, instantly shattering it. On the other side, boundless water crashed toward Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu could only unleash his king's domain with all of his strength. However, the power was simply too shocking, and cracks appeared on his king's domain. Zhao Fu was also slightly injured. Roar! Another wound appeared on the rainbow divine fish's body, and it roared as boundless water gathered, turning into a ferocious water dragon that rushed toward Zhao Fu. Because Zhao Fu had used his saber 3 times, it turned into dust. As such, he took out the evil-crushing spear and sent his king's power into it. The evil-crushing spear gave off waves of silver light and arcs of lightning, and Zhao Fu vigorously threw it out. The evil-crushing spear turned into a massive silver ray of light and smashed against the water dragon with unstoppable force. Boom! An explosion sounded out as the 2 attacks exploded, turning into a massive shockwave that blasted out. The mud and rocks in the river were lifted into the air, and water splashed out from the surface of the river. Seeing that its attack had failed, the rainbow divine fish opened its mouth and devoured a large amount of water before spitting out a massive water arrow, which contained immense power as it shot out. The surrounding water was blasted away. A vacuum appeared. Zhao Fu was given a big fright and dodged to the side, narrowly dodging the water arrow. The massive water arrow shot out hundreds of meters before turning into water and falling back into the river. Suddenly, the rainbow divine fish appeared beside Zhao Fu and bit toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed as the one-world rod turned into a wooden sword, and he vigorously slashed out, sending out a massive sword light towards the rainbow divine fish. Roar! The rainbow divine fish cried out in pain as it was hit by the sword light. The sword light immediately tore through its golden scales, leaving behind a gash. Tree Lord, die! Zhao Fu roared as he stabbed out with the royal wood sword. The royal wood sword gave off a green light as countless black branches shot out from the royal wood sword and stabbed towards the rainbow divine fish. These branches were abnormally sharp and stabbed into the rainbow divine fish's body. This was one of the skills that the royal wood sword possessed. Not only were the branches sharp, but they also contained the power to strip away life force. Immediately, wounds appeared in the rainbow divine fish's body, and the light around its body became much dimmer. The rainbow divine fish struggled to break free from the countless branches, and it knew that it was no match for Zhao Fu, so it once again tried to escape. How could Zhao Fu allow it to escape? The royal wood sword once again turned into a fishing rod, and Zhao Fu vigorously swung it, causing the fishing line to fly out and wrap around the rainbow divine fish's body a few times. After being wrapped around by the fishing line, the rainbow divine fish continued to try and escape. Zhao Fu vigorously grabbed the fishing rod and pulled the rainbow divine fish towards the surface of the water. As long as he could pull the rainbow divine fish to the surface of the water, he would be able to win. The rainbow divine fish vigorously struggled, and the 2 of them once again started to tussle. Zhao Fu pulled the rainbow divine fish up a bit, and Zhao Fu was pulled down a bit. Seeing that there would be no victor in a short period of time, Zhao Fu yelled, "Sky Demon, go slaying!" A black sword light and a blood-red sword light shot towards the rainbow divine fish. Zhao Fu planned to use the power of the 2 swords to heavily injure the rainbow divine fish. The rainbow divine fish knew that danger was approaching, and it suddenly exploded out with power as it swung its tail. The water exploded, and the rainbow divine fish shot towards the side like an arrow. Zhao Fu immediately pulled on the fishing rod, and the fishing line was pulled taut. However, in the next moment, Zhao Fu was given a big fright as he found that the fishing line was in danger of breaking. As such, he could only retreat and allow the rainbow divine fish to drag him away, waiting for it to run out of strength. Sky Demon and Ghost Slaying were unable to catch up to the rainbow divine fish's speed, so they once again turned into two swords and returned to Zhao Fu's side. A few hours later, the rainbow divine fish finally ran out of strength, and Zhao Fu vigorously pulled it towards the surface of the water. Seeing that they were getting closer and closer to the surface of the water, Zhao Fu felt that something was off. He could hear many people talking, causing Zhao Fu to hesitate. However, looking down at the rainbow divine fish, Zhao Fu didn't want anything unexpected to happen. Chapter 329. Next to Seeping River, an elderly man with long eyebrows raised his fishing rod and fished up a divine fish that gave off a blue light. Old Jiang. Not bad, another blue divine fish. This blue divine fish caused the surrounding people to feel quite envious, and one of the elderly men smiled as he spoke to the elderly man with long eyebrows. The elderly man with long eyebrows chuckled and replied, "It's nothing. It's just a blue divine fish. Look at that young man over there. He's already caught 4 silver divine fish." Just as the elderly man finished speaking, a young man with a calm aura caught another silver divine fish. This silver divine fish turned into countless motes of light and entered the young man's body, and a fish jewel appeared in the young man's hand. This caused the surrounding people to sigh in amazement and admiration, and many people were even jealous. Fish jewels could be traded, and a fish jewel from a silver divine fish could be sold for 5 gold coins, which was equivalent to $50,000 in the real world. The young man couldn't help but feel quite happy, but he noticed many greedy gazes. He had 3 fish jewels, which were worth 15 gold coins in total, which was enough to make people want to kill him. The young man didn't hesitate for too long, and he decided to go somewhere else or get rid of the fish jewel. He could deal with 1 or 2 people, but he couldn't deal with too many people. Those people could tell what the young man was thinking, so they immediately threw down their fishing rods and walked over, surrounding the young man, causing the atmosphere to become tense. Suddenly, the sound of water splashing could be heard as a figure shot out of the water. This sudden change immediately attracted countless gazes. However, they did not expect a shocking scene to unfold next. That person actually dragged out a 10-meter-long fish from the water. This fish was completely golden and had a pair of dragon horns and dragon whiskers, and it gave off a rainbow-colored light that seemed to contain some sort of magic, causing everyone to be unable to take their eyes off it. After the rainbow-colored divine fish was dragged out of the water, it turned into countless motes of rainbow-colored light and entered the body of the person in the air. At the same time, a rainbow-colored fish jewel appeared. Everyone's hearts jumped. A violet divine fish's fish jewel could be a gold item, an orange divine fish's fish jewel could be a legendary item, a 3-color divine fish's fish jewel could be an epic item, and a rainbow-colored divine fish's fish jewel could be a divine item. Divine item. Just those 2 words were enough to make countless people go crazy. Its value was simply inestimable, and it couldn't be measured with money. Even godly spirits would want it. System announcement. Congratulations, you have caught an arowana. You have received 100,000 divine fish points. After dragging the rainbow divine fish out of the water, Zhao Fu received this system announcement and obtained a rainbow-colored fish jewel, making Zhao Fu feel quite delighted. However, looking at the people below, Zhao Fu immediately put the rainbow-colored fish jewel away before turning into a ray of black light and disappearing over the horizon. Only then did the black-cloaked figure fly away, and everyone felt incredibly eager. If they could, they'd fish, but they would be they or, they or. Fish or a, and fish, fish, Jiang, man, fish, said. The young man from before took advantage of the fact that everyone's attention was on the fish jewel and immediately left, causing those who wanted to steal it to feel regret. However, news of the rainbow divine fish appearing in Seeping River quickly spread, shocking countless people, and they started to guess who that black-cloaked figure was. Recently, demonic geniuses had continuously appeared, overshadowing the legatees. After all, this event had been prepared for them. This time, no one thought that it was Qin's legatee, and they all guessed that it was another demonic genius. If he really obtained a divine item, there would definitely be a bloodbath in the future, and many people started to worry. On a small hill, Zhao Fu felt quite excited as he looked at the rainbow-colored fish jewel in his hand. Could I really obtain a divine armament? Zhao Fu decided to use the rainbow fish jewel. The rainbow-colored fish jewel gave off a bright rainbow-colored light and rose up from Zhao Fu's hand. Suddenly, a wild gale blew, causing sand and pebbles to fly into the air. Countless clouds gathered as the rainbow-colored fish jewel gave off a powerful aura that pressed down on the surroundings. To Zhao Fu, this aura was nothing. Zhao Fu stared at the rainbow fish jewel in the sky, and the light it gave off became brighter and brighter until it was quite blinding. Soon, it became a 2-meter-wide orb of light. Now was the moment that Zhao Fu was the most nervous because whatever the fish jewel was, it would be the result. Could this rainbow fish jewel really obtain a divine item? Zhao Fu wasn't completely sure. The orb of light in the sky gradually dissipated, and the wind gradually died down. Finally, a rhombus-shaped crystal that was as big as a palm appeared in the sky. It gave off a faint rainbow-colored light and slowly descended. Seeing this, Zhao Fu felt a bit disappointed because it didn't give any equipment. However, he still stretched out his hand and caught the crystal. Heavenly Domain Stone, an extremely rare stone in this world. Legends say that there are only a few of them, and they are incredibly useful. After looking at the Heavenly Domain Stone's description, Zhao Fu remembered the information that he had obtained from the demon god and knew what this stone was. He was a bit disappointed, but not too disappointed. The Heavenly Domain Stone wasn't a material or a piece of equipment, but a special item. Zhao Fu knew what this special item was, but it wasn't convenient for him to say it, so he put it away for now. In the following period of time, Zhao Fu went to his system main city. Because he had enough divine fish points to exchange for a gold grade city creation stone, there were 100 gold grade city creation stones. Although it didn't seem like a small amount, there were many people competing for them. Zhao Fu didn't want to miss out on this opportunity, so he went to Seeping River's system main city. A gold grade city creation stone could be exchanged for 200,000 divine fish points, but each grade of city creation stone had a limit, and each person could only exchange for one. No matter how many divine fish points Zhao Fu had, he couldn't exchange for a gold grade city creation stone, and he could only exchange for a silver grade city creation stone. After exchanging for a gold grade city creation stone, Zhao Fu once again returned to Seeping River, but this time he went to a different place. Before, Zhao Fu had been quite downstream, but this time he went upstream. If he could find a rainbow-colored divine fish, Zhao Fu wouldn't mind at all. However, things weren't as Zhao Fu had hoped. Not only were there no rainbow-colored divine fish, but he didn't even see a 3-color divine fish. Most of the divine fish that he caught were violet and orange divine fish. Just like that, the 4th day of the Divine Fish Festival slowly passed. Chapter 330. The last time a rainbow-colored divine fish had appeared, it had been in the same weather. Zhao Fu wondered if he would be lucky enough to find another one today. If he could find another one, he would be quite satisfied. However, it would be best if he could obtain a fish jewel and obtain a piece of equipment. It started to drizzle, and Zhao Fu once again used the One World Rod's 4th state and put on a raincoat. The raindrops continuously fell onto the river, causing mist to form. Zhao Fu sat on a small boat and didn't move at all. He held a fishing rod as he fished, and the scene was quite poetic. However, it was all to no avail. He didn't even see a single 3-color divine fish, let alone a rainbow-colored divine fish. Could it be that he had come to the wrong place? Zhao Fu thought about it and felt that this shouldn't be the case. Upstream, the water was calmer than downstream, and this place should be more suitable for fish to live in. Moreover, Zhao Fu had been fishing downstream this entire time, and he had caught quite a few divine fish. There shouldn't have been any rainbow-colored divine fish, which was why Zhao Fu had come to upstream. Zhao Fu fished for another 2 hours. Zhao Fu still didn't find anything, so he could only go to the middle reaches to try his luck. However, he didn't find as many fish as upstream. Zhao Fu then went to the lower reaches to fish, and he found that it was still better to go upstream, which proved that he was right. Zhao Fu hadn't seen any rainbow-colored divine fish or rainbow-colored divine fish in a long time. Could it be that Seeping River no longer had those two types of divine fish? However, Seeping River was the largest body of water that Zhao Fu could reach. Qin City was quite far away from the ocean, and he would have to cross at least 10 or so regions to reach the ocean. However, Qin City didn't have as far as Seeping River, and the other regions weren't as big as Seeping River. Most of them were lakes and rivers, and they couldn't compare to Seeping River at all. If Seeping River didn't have any rainbow-colored divine fish, Zhao Fu didn't know where else he could find them. Suddenly, Zhao Fu thought of an idea. Isn't my blood very attractive to divine fish? A small fish that devoured his blood was the best bait. Even that rainbow-colored divine fish wanted to devour him, which showed how attractive he was to divine fish. Should he use his blood to attract the divine fish? Zhao Fu felt that he could give this method a try. Recently, he had lost quite a lot of blood. Relying on a lot of blood-replenishing elixirs, Zhao Fu's body did not weaken. Zhao Fu took out a dagger and slashed open a wound on his arm. Blood flowed out of the wound and dripped into the river, and as the blood fell into the water, it started to spread and gave off a bloody smell. Zhao Fu let the blood drip from his arm for nearly 3 minutes before he used the royal wood sword to heal the wound. Suddenly, the surface of the river seemed to have fallen into a deathly silence. There was no sound at all, nor was there any sign of life. Zhao Fu suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Swish, swish, swish. Zhao Fu saw countless fish that were as big as a palm madly rushing towards him. These fish looked quite terrifying, and their heads looked like skeletons. They were covered with gray scales and had 2 rows of sharp teeth. These should be the fish monsters of Seeping River. Zhao Fu had never thought that not only would he fail to attract the divine fish, but he would also attract countless fish monsters. There were so many fish monsters that he couldn't even count how many there were. What he could see were countless fish monsters swimming towards Zhao Fu's boat from all directions. At that moment, Zhao Fu did not feel too panicked. These fish monsters could deal with ordinary people, but how could they deal with Zhao Fu? Right now, Zhao Fu's strength was incredibly terrifying. The one-world rod once again turned into the royal wood sword, and Zhao Fu stood up and sent his power into the royal wood sword. The royal wood sword immediately gave off a green light, and Zhao Fu vigorously stabbed it downwards. The royal wood sword pierced through the boat, and countless black branches continuously stretched out from the royal wood sword, branching out and branching out again. This continued to happen over and over again. The countless fish monsters were attracted by the blood and madly swam over. Sharp branches continuously grew out, piercing through the fish monsters' bodies. Their life force was taken away by the pierced branches, and countless fish monsters died. A strange scene unfolded. A 100-meter wide black treetop appeared in the water. This treetop didn't have a single leaf, but it was filled with fish corpses. The fish monsters continued to rush over, but they were unable to harm Zhao Fu at all. In fact, before they could even get within 100 meters of Zhao Fu, they were pierced by the countless branches and died. At that moment, a 10-meter-long fish slowly floated to the surface. It wasn't a divine fish, but a Lord-class fish monster. The Lord-class fish monster's eyes gloomily looked at Zhao Fu and gave off a blue light. Boundless river water gathered as 2 fish monsters made of water appeared on either side of the Lord-class fish monster. They leapt out of the water and attacked Zhao Fu. Sky Demon Slash. Seeing the 2 fish monsters attack, Zhao Fu unsheathed the Sky Demon Sword and slashed out with a 10 or so meter long black arc of light. The sword aura seemed to split the air apart and the two fish monsters were slashed into countless splashes before falling back into the river. At that moment, the Lord-class fish monster vigorously swung its tail, causing a huge splash as it also leapt out of the water. It opened its sharp teeth and seemed to be able to chew through steel. Zhao Fu dodged to the right, dodging this attack. Just as the Lord-class fish monster brushed past him, he raised the Sky Demon sword and vigorously slashed out, instantly breaking through the Lord-class fish monster's defenses and leaving behind a deep gash that revealed its bones. The Lord-class fish monster wasn't very strong. Normally, lords were divided into individual and collective strength. If there were a small group of lords, they would be very powerful, and if there were a large group of lords, they would be very weak. The Lord-class fish monster's main strength came from the ordinary fish monsters, but most of them had been killed by the Black Treetop. After being heavily injured, the Lord-class fish monster fell back into the river and tried to escape. Godly demon-devouring great bite. Zhao Fu once again used a godly skill, and he raised his sword and slashed out. A massive and ugly face opened its mouth and gave off a devouring power as it leapt towards the Lord-class fish monster. The Lord-class fish monster was given a big fright, and it shined with a large amount of blue light, forming a blue protective barrier. The face continuously bit down on the barrier, causing countless cracks to appear on it. At that moment, the Lord-class fish monster dove into the water and tried to escape. Zhao Fu immediately unleashed his king's domain and jumped in. The Lord-class fish monster was quite weak and easy to kill, so Zhao Fu didn't want to let it go. The fish monster was incredibly fast, but Zhao Fu wasn't slow either, and he closely followed behind it. By now, the Lord-class fish monster's blue light barrier had been shattered, and it had been bitten by the large face, tearing off some of its flesh. However, the Lord-class fish monster also turned around and bit down on the large face. At that moment, Zhao Fu found that there was a stone platform at the bottom of the river, and there was a statue of the Lord-class fish monster floating above it. Chapter 331. There weren't many dens, and these fish monsters were incredibly ferocious. If he nurtured them, they might be useful in the future. Zhao Fu wanted this den, but he had to kill the Lord Fish Monster. By now, the Lord Fish Monster was already heavily injured, and there were many wounds on its body as it swam towards the Denver. If it returned to the den, it would most likely receive some benefits and recover its strength. This was the effect of the den. Zhao Fu wouldn't let the Lord Fish Monster have its way, so he drew the slaughtering ghost sword and slashed out. A blood-red barrier spread out, pulling the Lord Fish Monster, which was desperately trying to return to the den, into the slaughtering field domain, cutting off its path forward. With its plan interrupted, the Lord Fish Monster turned and ferociously glared at Zhao Fu. Now that it couldn't return to the den, it could only fight with its life on the line. The Lord Fish Monster's body continuously shined with a blue light, and the river water continuously gathered, forming 5 fish monsters that looked exactly like the Lord Fish Monster, but were completely made of water. Because they were in the water, the 5 fish monsters received a massive boost, and their speed became many times faster than before. With a swish, they disappeared, leaving a trail of water behind them as they bit at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's pupils constricted. This speed caused Zhao Fu to feel quite shocked, but it was still within his control. Zhao Fu exploded out with power, and traces of black aura continuously flowed out of his body. The slaughtering ghost sword in his hand gave off a terrifying blood-red light, and faint ghostly howls could be heard. Suddenly, 2 fish monsters attacked from the front, and Zhao Fu's sword slashed out, splitting the 2 fish monsters in half. At that moment, another fish charged at Zhao Fu from the side. Zhao Fu used his sword to block, but at that moment, another fish ferociously bit at Zhao Fu from the other side, attacking Zhao Fu from both sides. Zhao Fu took a step back and dodged this pincer attack. However, another fish tried to sneak up on Zhao Fu, but Zhao Fu turned around and sliced it in half. The fish monster lord took advantage of the moment that Zhao Fu turned around to attack. It opened its mouth and gulped down a large amount of water before spitting out a powerful water bullet toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was careless and was sent flying more than 10 meters away. The remaining two fish also took the opportunity to attack. Seeing the fish attack again, Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and sent his power into the slaughtering ghost sword, causing it to give off a large amount of blood-red light. Zhao Fu slashed out, sending out a blood-red crescent that shattered the two fish. Suddenly, the fish monster lord took this opportunity to appear behind Zhao Fu. It opened its mouth and ferociously bit at Zhao Fu. The fish monster lord was as fast as lightning, and it arrived in front of Zhao Fu in the blink of an eye. Zhao Fu had long since sensed this, and in this moment of crisis, he suddenly turned around and stabbed upwards, stabbing the slaughtering ghost sword into the fish monster lord's lower jaw. The fish monster lord howled in pain, and Zhao Fu took a step back. He drew the sky demon sword and sent a large amount of king's power into it, causing the sword to give off a large amount of sword chi. Zhao Fu gripped the sword with both hands and vigorously slashed out. A massive black sword chi split the fish monster lord's head in half, causing blood and brain matter to fly everywhere. The cut was perfectly straight, and the fish monster lord died just like that. It was a pity that the fish monster lord didn't drop a single item, causing Zhao Fu to feel quite surprised. It was the first time that he had been so unlucky that he hadn't dropped anything. In the end, Zhao Fu could only put the fish monster lord's corpse away. After all, the materials and corpses were still quite useful. Zhao Fu swam towards the fish monster den. Now that the fish monster lord was dead, the den didn't have any power to resist. Zhao Fu swam to the top of the den and stretched out his hand to touch the statue, causing a system interface to pop up. Den clown bone fish, intermediate town, grade, gold, description. The den of clown bone fish can spawn 265 to 345 clown bone fish every day. This fish monster was called the clown bone fish, and its den was also an intermediate town. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised and chose to conquer it, obtaining 800 achievement points. He then chose to relocate, obtaining 230,000 EXP. After receiving so much EXP, Zhao Fu felt quite delighted. Qintown was less than 100,000 EXP away from becoming a basic city. So how could Zhao Fu not be happy? After the den was conquered, the clown bone fish statue gave off a faint light, and the platform beneath Zhao Fu's feet gradually disappeared. After everything calmed down, Zhao Fu grabbed the statue and prepared to leave. Suddenly, an extremely terrifying aura appeared, causing the entire region of water to freeze and fall into a deathly silence. All of the creatures in Seeping River started to panic, and a figure that was nearly 1,000 meters long appeared behind Zhao Fu. Under this terrifying aura, Zhao Fu's body froze, and all of his hairs stood on end. He turned and saw a massive clown bone fish behind him. This massive clown bone fish was nearly 1,000 meters long, and it was covered with grayish-silver scales. It had sharp fangs and a bone horn on its head, making it look even more savage and terrifying. The king-class creature here is a clown bone fish. Zhao Fu didn't hesitate. He had just destroyed a clown bone fish den, and now that it had come to him, something good might happen. As such, Zhao Fu turned into a ray of light and quickly escaped. The massive clown bone fish condescendingly looked at Zhao Fu and opened its demonic abyss-like mouth. A massive suction force exploded out, sucking in all of the river water. Zhao Fu was unable to resist at all, and he quickly retreated as he was about to be devoured by the massive clown bone fish. A ray of golden light shot into the sky, breaking free from the suction force and shooting into the sky. The massive clown bone fish felt quite startled. Just as it was about to react, the golden light was incredibly fast and disappeared into the sky in just an instant. Zhao Fu's body was covered by a golden light as he flew through the sky. To others, he looked like a meteor, leaving a golden trail behind him. He landed in front of a system main city's gates, causing everyone to look shocked. Zhao Fu ignored these gazes and walked into the system main city. He couldn't stay at Seeping River any longer, or else the clown bone fish would find him. Just a few moments later, after returning to Qin City, Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. A king-class creature was indeed powerful, and even a city lord with a city lord seal might not be a match for it. This time, Zhao Fu had used a teleportation talisman to escape. The 10,000-kilometer teleportation talisman's effects were quite shocking, and if Zhao Fu had the opportunity, he would have to make a few more of them. Otherwise, without using his nation armament, it would have been impossible for him to escape. Now that he thought about it, the best place to fish at Seeping River was gone, and he definitely wouldn't be able to return there. Where should I go now? It's only the 5th day of the Divine Fish Festival, and there are still 2 more days before it ends. I can't waste any time. At that moment, Zhao Fu heard that there was a dragon sealing well in a certain region. Chapter 332. Zhao Fu came to the dragon sealing well and found that it was incredibly big. It was 100 or so meters wide and was made of white bricks. There were 36 black chains hanging down from the sides of the well, and they were about 1 meter thick. The water in the well was a dark green color. Is there really a dragon locked in this well? Zhao Fu walked over to the well and grabbed the chains with both hands. He vigorously pulled and was able to barely move them. The chains were incredibly heavy, and he did not know how long they were. However, they felt that they were not short. This dragon sealing well had only been discovered recently, and it was said that a few city lords had personally come to take a look. However, they had not found anything and had returned. Zhao Fu looked around and did not find anything special. It was unlikely that there really was a dragon sealed here, or else this place would be a forbidden region. It would not be the same as now, where anyone could come and go. Zhao Fu did not think too much about it. His main goal here was to see if he could catch any rare fish. However, the well was deathly silent, and there did not seem to be any living creatures. There were not even any ordinary plants or insects, let alone fish. However, since he was already here, Zhao Fu decided to give it a try. He sat next to the dragon sealing well and threw the bait into the well. Soon a fish took the bait. It was a violet divine fish, and the fish in the well was quite strange. Its body was quite long and thin, and its scales were a dark green color. Its eyes were vertical. After pulling the divine fish out of the water, countless motes of light entered Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu once again cast the bait. Soon, another violet divine fish took the bait, and it gave Zhao Fu a fish jewel. Following this, another orange divine fish took the bait. Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with this place, and it was quite similar to Seeping River. In the next 2 days, Zhao Fu spent most of his time here. Nothing unexpected happened over the next 2 days, and he caught another 3-color divine fish. However, it was a pity that it did not give a fish jewel again. Luckily, the golden and violet divine fish gave more fish jewels. Soon, it was 12 a.m., and the bright moon shone down on the ground. Zhao Fu put away his fishing rod because the Divine Fish Festival had concluded. After putting away his fishing rod, Zhao Fu went to the exchange stone steel. Before, Zhao Fu had wanted to use all of his divine fish points to exchange for city creation stones, but he could only do so once per rank, so Zhao Fu could only exchange for city creation stones of each rank. He still had 200,000 divine fish points left, and Zhao Fu looked through the exchange stone steel to see if there were any other good items. Now, Great Qin needed a stage 3 medicinal pill recipe. Zhao Fu immediately looked through it and found that it was a deadwood pill. This withered tree pill required a withered tree heart as the main ingredient, not a windbell fruit. However, Zhao Fu had only found one stage 3 pill recipe, so he bought it and asked Zhang Baishu to make some improvements. The withered tree pill was worth 200,000 divine fish points, and after purchasing the withered tree pill, Zhao Fu spent all of his divine fish points. He returned to Qin. Zhao Fu started to take inventory of their gains. This included not only his gains, but everyone else's gains as well. There were 3 gold grade city creation stones, which Zhao Fu, Bai Qi, and Wang Jian had exchanged for. There were 12 silver Grade City Creation Stones, 35 blue Grade City Creation Stones, and 104 normal Grade City Creation Stones. Adding on Qin's 497 villages, Qin now had a total of 651 villages. Just from the people spawning from these villages, Zhao Fu would be able to obtain roughly 4,000 people per day. Adding on the people from the various regions, Qin's population growth was monstrous. There were at least 10,000 people per day, and that didn't include the people from conquering. After the Divine Fish Festival, Qin's population had reached 340,000 people, and Zhao Fu had expanded his army by 20,000. Now, Qin had 60,000 soldiers, and 35,000 of them were Stage 1 soldiers. Zhao Fu had told the soldiers to rest and cultivate during the Divine Fish Festival. The other soldiers' cultivations were all around Stage 0 to 6 or 0 to 7. Because they had all consumed blood god pills, their cultivations definitely wouldn't be weak. The gap between Qin and the system main cities was once again pulled closer. Only by having equal strength would they be able to contend against the system main cities. Zhao Fu had placed the clown-bone fish den in one of Qin's waters, and he planned to nurture them. In the future, if there was a battle in the water, these clown-bone fish dens would be quite useful. With just their sharp mouths, they would be able to easily tear off large chunks of flesh. Next were the fish jewels. There were 24 million normal fish jewels, 300,000 blue fish jewels, 60,000 silver fish jewels, 6,723 gold fish jewels, and 43 purple fish jewels. Below the silver fish jewels, Qin's people had obtained them, but the gold and purple fish jewels had been obtained by Zhao Fu. At least 90% of them had been obtained by Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu gave the other fish jewels to the others to open, while Zhao Fu chose to open the purple fish jewels. These purple fish jewels could give legendary grade items. Zhao Fu couldn't help but grin as he opened the 43 purple fish jewels. Rays of violet light flashed before quickly disappearing. This time, there were 8 legendary grade equipment, 13 legendary grade materials, 7 skills, and 15 other items. Zhao Fu directly gave out the legendary grade equipment, and he kept the legendary grade materials for road until he had the ability to forge legendary grade equipment. None of the skills were suitable for Zhao Fu, so he gave them out. Out of the 15 items, there were a few that were quite special. The first item was a Stage 5 pill recipe, which made Zhao Fu feel quite delighted. This pill recipe was called the Flying Spirit Pill, and it required the Stage 5 Spirit Grass, Flying Spirit Grass. Even though Zhao Fu didn't even have a Stage 3 pill yet, and now he had obtained a Stage 5 pill recipe, it was quite a big leap. However, the higher the level of pill recipe, the harder it was to find one. With this pill recipe, it would save him a lot of time. The second item was a type of incubating water called the Life Spirit Water. Zhao Fu poured it on the wyvern egg, which sped up the egg's incubation time. Now, the egg would hatch in 2 months, saving him 1 month. The third item was a bottle of poison called Poison Dragon Liquid. This poison's toxicity was extremely terrifying. Even with the dragon's powerful physique, it would still be poisoned. With the amount of poison in this bottle, it could be used 3 times. The fourth item was a black iron stone that was as big as a watermelon. It was called the Boundary Iron, and it was a very special material. It wasn't suitable for equipment, but it was suitable for forging items that could be used with the Heavenly Domain Stone. The appearance of the Boundary Iron delighted Zhao Fu. The fifth item was a crystalline pendant called the Invisibility Pendant. This pendant didn't have any stats, and it only had one function, which was to make people invisible. This function was quite special and could be very useful in certain situations. Chapter 333. Next were the 7,000 or so fish jewels. In total, he had obtained 2,000 or so gold-grade equipment, 2,000 materials, hundreds of skills, and 2,000 other items. The silver fish jewels, blue fish jewels, and white fish jewels were all open as well. Putting aside the low-grade materials, if all of the gold-grade materials were used to forge equipment, Great Qin would have 5,000 pieces of gold-grade equipment. Every captain would be able to obtain a piece of gold-grade equipment, and most generals would be able to obtain legendary-grade equipment. Each of the 60,000 soldiers had 2 pieces of silver equipment on them. With this alone, Qin's combat power had been greatly improved. Ordinary people couldn't resist him. As for the other blue and white items, Zhao Fu planned to use them to exchange for people. They would take a long time, and they would be able to save on the cost of exchanging for people. Even though Zhao Fu hadn't obtained any of the 10 city creation stones from the Divine Fish Festival, his gains were something that no other faction could compare to. As such, Zhao Fu didn't feel much regret about the Divine Fish Festival. After taking care of all of these matters, Zhao Fu returned to the real world and went to the Heaven Awakened World Forum to look at all of the news. Zhao Fu had been busy fishing during the Divine Fish Festival, so he hadn't looked at the forum. He felt that many big things had happened, so he decided to take a look. Zhao Fu first looked at the owners of the 10 city creation stones, but none of them were dynasty legatees. They were all obtained by unknown people, which made Zhao Fu feel quite surprised. These ordinary people would definitely become extraordinary in the future, but right now, they could only hide all of their information. Otherwise, even a small family would be able to destroy them in the real world. As such, no one dared to reveal their information and chose to develop in secret. There were also many other major events. The biggest one was the battle between the Xianyuan descendants and the Qiyu descendants in the upper river plains. The Xianyuan sword and Qiyu saber also shone brilliantly, displaying astonishing might. Although their quality had long since surpassed epic equipment, they still could not be considered divine weapons. In fact, Zhao Fu knew about the grades of equipment above epic rank. This was because Zhao Fu had obtained a lot of information from Demon God. Divine weapons were not the highest grade. There were a few equipment levels above the epic grade, but I won't go into detail about them now. This battle ended in a draw. Both of them seemed to have sustained serious injuries. There was also the Divine Fish Festival, where there were many abnormal signs. These abnormal signs were most likely caused by ordinary people blessed by the heaven's fate. Zhao Fu took a look, and if those people with heaven's fate appeared in front of Zhao Fu wouldn't let them off. After all, by killing them, one would be able to obtain quite a bit of fate. Even though their fate was not as vast as the nation legatees, it was more pure. There were a total of 3 rainbow divine fish. The first was in the ocean and looked like a whale. The second was in Seeping River and looked like a carp. The third was in a large lake and looked like a catfish. The third was in a large lake and looked like a catfish. Zhao Fu looked at the rainbow divine fish, and Zhao Fu looked at the rainbow divine fish. The first was something that someone had coincidentally encountered in the ocean. This rainbow-colored divine fish was very gentle and did not attack anyone. It only swam away after sensing that someone wanted to harm it. The second was that it had been caught by an extremely mysterious person and obtained a fish jewel. Countless people tried to guess who that person was, and the most likely suspect was the owner of Heavenly Sword City. The third was that someone had angered it, and it had created massive waves that drowned tens of thousands of people. In the end, it had been killed by 2 city lords, but it was a pity that it had not obtained a fish jewel. There were some other things that Zhao Fu took a closer look at, but he didn't say anything else. Just as Zhao Fu was about to re-enter the Heaven Awakened world, Wu Qingyang called and said that she wanted to get along well with the Soldier Alliance. She wanted to improve their relationship. The Soldier Alliance was a top-tier faction in the Forest of Horror Soldier Forest, and it was said that the Alliance Master was on good terms with Wu Qingyang. Before, Wu Qingyang had asked Zhao Fu to go there, but Zhao Fu had refused. Now, Heaven's Choice was in Demon Tree City, and after developing for a long time, it had become a large faction and had 20,000 or so people. Zhao Fu understood what Wu Qingyang was trying to say. She wanted to form a force that could help each other and become a top-tier faction. Zhao Fu expressed that he understood, and after chatting for a while, he hung up and entered the Heaven Awakened world. By now, it was daytime in the Heaven Awakened world, and Qin City had returned to its normal operations. The merchant alliance and factories were busy again, and the soldiers had started conquering. Zhao Fu wanted to quickly level up Qin City, and now that he was less than 100,000 EXP away, it would be quite easy. At that moment, a hooded Qin City assassin walked into the hall and reported something, causing a trace of a smile to appear on Zhao Fu's face. Within the orc city, Gunador frowned. There were 10 or so orcs lying in a tent next to him. Their bodies were boiling hot, and their faces were pale. They continuously broke out in cold sweat, and it was as if they were suffering from a serious illness. The shamans fed these beastmen different kinds of potions while casting healing skills. Green lights fell on the beastmen's bodies, but they didn't have the slightest effect. The beastmen still had painful and weak expressions. Gunador couldn't take it anymore and asked, just what kind of illness is wrong with these outstanding orc citizens? Why aren't the medicines you're feeding them effective at all? The shamans were so worried that their faces were covered with sweat, and they replied, Sir Vice Lord, we don't know what illness they're suffering from. If it was an ordinary illness, our healing skills would be effective. However, we've already used different medicines and healing skills, but they're all ineffective. These 10 or so orcs were all elites of the orc city, and all of them were S-grade. There were people that the orc city focused on nurturing, and their cultivations were almost at stage 2. The faster they cultivated, the more medicinal pills they consumed, and the more hidden evil poison began to take effect. What they didn't know was that Zhao Fu had long since added a slow-acting poison into their medicinal pills. After so much time had passed, Hidden Evil's poison had continued to accumulate in their bodies, and ordinary detoxification skills had no effect, let alone healing them. Unless it was a very high-grade detoxification pill, all healing skills would be ineffective. What they didn't know was that these 10 or so orcs were poisoned and not sick. Even if they knew that they were poisoned, they definitely didn't have any high-grade detoxification pills. Hidden Evil was a stage 2 poison, and if it was consumed for a long period of time, it would be impossible to completely cure it without a stage 5 detoxification pill. However, even if the orc city had stage 5 detoxification pills, there weren't many of them. Gunador looked quite worried as he said, "Continue to think of a way to cure them. They're our orc city's elite soldiers, and we can't let anything happen to them." Chapter 334. There was nothing Gunador could do because he didn't know the truth of the matter, so he could only take things one step at a time. Originally, having 10 or so orcs fall sick wasn't a big deal to the orc city. It was mainly because they were being nurtured. However, a few hours later, a few more orcs fell sick with the same symptoms as before. This time, Gunador felt that something was off, and 50 or so orcs fell sick. Gunador understood how serious this matter was, so he immediately gathered all of Orc City's generals and reported this matter to City Lord Kaki. Within the hall, a valiant-looking orc with a small braid on his head sat at the head of the hall. It was Kaki. At that moment, Kaki's expression became serious as he asked, "What's going on? Have you found out what's going on?" Gunador shook his head and replied, "City Lord, we haven't found out what's going on yet. Everything is still unclear, and these beastmen suddenly fell ill without any warning." Kaki said in a low voice, "Hurry and find out what's going on. We can't let this matter blow up." The other orcs obeyed and left the hall to find out what was going on. They first gathered all of the orcs who had fallen sick together because the way the orcs fell sick was quite similar to a plague. However, normal plagues wouldn't appear randomly. If it was a natural cause, there would definitely be a source, and it would be easier to find out what was going on. If it was man-made, they would be able to find some clues. Right now, only the upper-class orcs knew about this, and they started to deal with plagues. The ordinary orcs didn't know about this yet, and if news of this got out, it would cause a lot of panic. Zhao Fu heard about this from Qin's assassin, who had been hiding in the orc city for a long time. It was finally time to pull in the net. After such a long time, Zhao Fu had found out that there were 270,000 orcs in the orc city. There were 50,000 orc soldiers, and 80% of them were stage 1 orcs. There were also 20,000 goblins and some kobolds. These goblins and kobolds were slaves, so they weren't treated well. At best, they would be beaten up, and at worst, they would be killed. Zhao Fu felt that he could make use of these 20,000 goblins and kobolds, and they would be of great use at crucial moments. However, Qin was in a rush to level up a basic city, and he would only be able to attack Orc City in a few days. There were two main reasons for this. After leveling up to a basic city, a City Lord seal would be condensed, and having a City Lord seal meant that one could control everything in the city. If one wanted to take down a city, they would first have to obtain a City Lord seal. Otherwise, even if one entered the city heart would release a powerful energy barrier to defend itself. Once a city condensed a City Lord seal, the city would become a war machine, and the City Lord seal would be able to use the city's power. A City Lord seal was the core of a city, and if its power was used up or damaged, the city would be affected, and it could even be destroyed. Zhao Fu wanted to condense Qin Town's City Lord seal, so that he wouldn't have to use his nation armament to deal with the Orc City. Another reason was that the hidden evil poison had only just started to flare up, and only a few dozen people had lost the ability to resist. This was far from what Zhao Fu wanted. Zhao Fu wanted to easily take down Orc City. If they directly attacked, Town Qin would suffer great losses. After the hidden evil poison had flared up in a few days, it would be much easier to deal with the orcs. Moreover, the 220,000 orc residents would be quite difficult to deal with. Even though ordinary orc residents couldn't compare to soldiers, the orcs themselves had decent battle strength, so Zhao Fu had to find a way to deal with the 220,000 orc residents. Tomorrow was the day to go to Orc City to exchange for people, so Zhao Fu decided to personally go and take a look before making a detailed plan. Men, pass down my orders. From today onwards, all teams are to ignore the captives and attack villages as quickly as possible until Qin Town levels up. Zhao Fu's orders were immediately spread out, and the generals immediately heard about it and started to attack the villages. Soon, it was the next day, and Zhao Fu brought medicinal pills and equipment to Orc City. Gunador's expression didn't change at all, and he personally welcomed Zhao Fu with a big smile as he said, "Esteemed guest, welcome to Orc City again." Zhao Fu also smiled as he replied, "Vice Lord, you're being too courteous. We're all so familiar with each other, so it's a bit too distant." Gunador smiled and hurriedly apologized. With just a few simple words, it seemed like the two of them had become much closer. In the eyes of others, they would look like a pair of close friends who regretted not having met sooner. However, both of them knew that they were just being polite and using each other. As soon as they found an opportunity, they wouldn't hesitate to destroy each other. Zhao Fu had long since seen through this hypocrisy, but he had to put on a mask. After all, this was how the world was. People who were too straightforward simply couldn't survive. Following this, Gunador took Zhao Fu to the sports field to check on the slaves that had been exchanged. Zhao Fu looked around and found that there were 2,000 people, which surprised Zhao Fu. This was the first time that the other side had brought so many slaves to trade. "Vice Lord, how did you manage to capture so many slaves this time?" Zhao Fu laughed as he asked in a probing tone. Gunador could tell what Zhao Fu was trying to say, so he smiled as he replied, "Our warriors conquered a few villages this time and obtained so many slaves." In actuality, Orc cities normally obtained even more slaves than they did now. It was just that they either killed the people with high grades or kept them for themselves. This time, the slaves' grades were much higher, and if it wasn't for the fact that Gunador needed help from Zhao Fu, he wouldn't have done this. Of course, Zhao Fu didn't believe Gunador, but he wasn't stupid enough to expose him. He nodded in satisfaction and prepared to take out some items to trade with Gunador. At that moment, Gunador stopped Zhao Fu and said, "Dear guest, I don't need any equipment or medicinal pills this time. This time, I don't want any equipment or medicinal pills. I want to exchange for some highly effective healing medicines." Zhao Fu had been observing everything that was happening in Orc City, so he knew what was going on. From yesterday to today, 1,000 or so orcs had fallen ill, and it was impossible to keep so many people in the dark. The entire Orc city felt a sense of crisis, and the higher-ups of the city were going crazy with worry. There was no way to find the cause, no way to defend against it, and no way to treat it. This made Kaki feel a trace of danger, so he ordered people to deal with it. The Orc city's resources were quite limited, and they only had some basic medicinal herbs. However, they didn't have any high-grade medicinal herbs, so Gunador had asked Zhou Ming to help him obtain some good medicinal herbs from the system main city. Gunador preferred to trade with Zhou Ming because he was easier to control. However, facing the unfathomable Zhao Fu, Gunador was incredibly wary. Chapter 335. Zhao Fu knew about this because he knew that Zhou Ming had been buying large amounts of medicine from the system main city. Zhao Fu knew what Gunador was thinking, but he still asked curiously, "Vice Lord, what do you need medicine for?" "Why do you need medicine?" "I have a few bottles of pretty good medicinal pills." As he spoke, Zhao Fu took out a few bottles of medicine and handed them to Gunador. Gunador hesitated. Now that there were 1,000 or so orcs that had fallen ill, a few bottles of medicine wouldn't be of much help. However, he couldn't tell Zhao Fu that so many orcs had fallen ill either. "It's like this. There's a village that's attached to our orc city, and all of them have fallen ill. Their bodies are feverish, and they're covered in cold sweat. Normal treatments don't work, so we decided to find some effective medicine to try." Gunador lied, but whether or not Zhao Fu believed him was out of his control. In any case, it was best not to let anyone else know about this. After hearing this, Zhao Fu understood what Gunador was trying to say, and he looked quite shocked as he asked, "So many people have fallen ill, and they have these symptoms? Could it be a plague?" Gunador was also quite shocked. He had long since suspected that this was a plague, but he didn't know how to treat it. "It's most likely a plague. Sir, do you have any good medicine that can cure this plague?" Gunador had a smile on his face, and he wasn't flustered at all. Right now, Gunador couldn't let Zhao Fu know about the situation in Orc City, or else he would be at a disadvantage, and Zhao Fu would be able to do whatever he wanted. Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, "Of course I have medicine that can cure the plague, but it's a bit more expensive." Gunador could tell that Zhao Fu was going to increase the price, and he let out a sigh of relief. It would be strange if Zhao Fu gave them the medicine for free. "It's a bit more expensive, but it's mainly because your medicine is effective, so there's no problem," Gunador said as he sincerely smiled. "Of course. However, Vice Lord, I'm sure that the Great Orc City has conquered many villages, right? How many city creation stones do you have?" After hearing Zhao Fu's words, Gunador coldly harumphed in his heart. What a cunning human! Even if such an important strategic item was destroyed, it wouldn't increase anyone else's strength. Zhao Fu's eyes widened as he looked at Zhao Fu. However, there was nothing he could do right now. Perhaps Zhao Fu's medicine really would be able to cure the orcs, so Gunador decided that losing some normal city creation stones wasn't a big deal. He used his 2,000 slaves and 10 normal city creation stones to exchange for the medicine that Zhao Fu had bought. Of course, Zhao Fu didn't have a medicine, and even if he did, he wouldn't take it out. Otherwise, it would seem too fake. The two of them decided to carry out the transaction the next day. Today, Zhao Fu went to prepare. After returning to Qin City and going through the Orc City, Zhao Fu's thoughts became clear. He ordered people to refine a large amount of hidden evil into medicinal pills, and Zhao Fu didn't add any hidden evil into medicinal pills. Zhao Fu gave Gunador 2 types of medicine. One was a medicine to cure the poison, and he would add an antidote to it. The antidote wouldn't cure the poison, but it would delay the onset of the poison and create the illusion that the Orc City was cured. The other type was a medicine to prevent the Orc City from relapsing. 90% of the medicine was hidden evil, 10% was the antidote, and some other things. This medicine was prepared for the 220,000 orc residents, and if they used this medicine once, their bodies would immediately accumulate large amounts of hidden evil. However, the antidote would delay the onset of the poison. The next day, Zhao Fu brought these 2 types of medicine to the Orc City to carry out the transaction. The first item was the medicine to cure the poison, and the two sides quickly completed the transaction. At that moment, Zhao Fu said in a reminding tone, "Vice Lord, you're not a good person. Generally speaking, plagues are very severe. Without any preventive measures, other people might also fall sick. I have some preventive medicine here. Do you want to try it first?" Of course, Gunador smiled and refused, saying, "First of all, we can't be sure if Zhao Fu's medicine can cure the orcs' illnesses. Moreover, the orc city has already suffered a great loss from this transaction. If we buy preventive medicine, and there are so many orcs, we'll have to buy a lot. If we buy preventive medicine, we'll be ripped off by Zhao Fu again." Even though Gunador was smiling, he inwardly felt disgusted by Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was so greedy and snobbish, and if Zhao Fu was useless to him, Gunador would kill him. Seeing that Gunador was in the mood to buy, Zhao Fu didn't force him, but he said that he would come back tomorrow. After Zhao Fu left, Gunador took the medicine and cautiously fed it to a few orcs to see how effective it was. Gunador and the shamans anxiously waited by the side. If Zhao Fu's medicine wasn't effective, there was nothing they could do. A while later, everyone relaxed as they saw that the orcs' temperatures gradually stabilized. Their bodies were no longer covered in cold sweat, and their expressions weren't as pained as before. The shamans quickly took a look and cried out in delight. "Vice Lord, they've been cured. The medicine's effects are very powerful, and in just a short while, more than half of the beastmen's illnesses have healed." Gunador smiled and nodded. This matter was finally over, and he immediately gave the order to feed the antidote to the other orcs. However, more news came that a few orcs had fallen ill. This made Gunador, who had just calmed down, start to worry again. Could this really be a plague? Even though we've found medicine to cure this illness, we can't just wait until they're sick. Suddenly, Gunador thought about the medicine that Zhao Fu had mentioned, and after thinking about it, he sighed and decided to buy it. He was prepared to be ripped off by Zhao Fu. Another day passed. When Zhao Fu once again came to Orc City, Gunador was already waiting for him. However, he didn't directly trade with Zhao Fu this time. Instead, he brought Zhao Fu to a large hall. The higher-ups of Orc City were all here, and the one sitting at the very top was the city lord, Kaki. Following behind Gunador, Zhao Fu suppressed his aura and walked into the hall. He cupped his hands and smiled as he said, "I greet the esteemed city lord." Kaki coldly looked at Zhao Fu and ignored Zhao Fu's respectful smile. He could sense a trace of danger from Zhao Fu, and he didn't like Zhao Fu at all. He was the city lord, and there was no need for him to put on a mask or hide anything. He didn't give Zhao Fu any face at all as he asked, "What do you want this time?" "My Orc City needs a large amount of medicine." Zhao Fu felt quite angry at Kaki's attitude, but for the sake of the bigger picture, Zhao Fu endured it. However, his tone became calm as he said, "I want city creation stones, slaves, and anything else of value. I can give you 200,000 silver coins, 10 city creation stones, and 3,000 slaves in exchange for your medicine. Do you want it?" Chapter 336. This price was a bit low, but Zhao Fu did not like people talking down to him. However, Zhao Fu was clear about reality and knew what was important. If he cared too much about his status as Great Qin's legatee, he would not be able to do anything, so there was no need for him to care so much. Zhao Fu didn't say anything, and a look of hesitation and dissatisfaction appeared on his face. "Human, don't be too greedy, or else I'll chop you up." Bottle Eye exploded out with a powerful aura. He was a rather simple-minded person, and he didn't know that Zhao Fu was suppressing his power. Seeing that Zhao Fu wasn't as strong as him, he immediately threatened him. The atmosphere immediately became tense, and the other orcs glared at Zhao Fu, seeming to want to attack him. Powerful auras covered Zhao Fu. Gunador could tell that the situation wasn't right. If Zhao Fu was useless to them, killing him wouldn't be a big deal. However, Zhao Fu would be of great use to their orc city in the future. For example, most of their equipment and medicinal pills came from Zhao Fu, so how could they kill Zhao Fu now? "City Lord, I also feel that the price is a bit low, so raise it a bit higher. I'm sure the esteemed guest will be satisfied. Isn't that right, esteemed guest? Gunador smiled as he stepped out to mediate the situation. The other orcs gave Gunador face and retracted their threatening auras. In actuality, Zhao Fu could have given them these medicinal pills for free, but that would have been too suspicious. Now that Gunador had stepped out to mediate the situation, Zhao Fu took the opportunity to accept the price. Thus, this transaction was concluded. After receiving the medicinal pills, Gunador cautiously gave them to the slaves to make sure that they weren't harmful before distributing them to the rest of the Orc City's residents. After everyone in the Orc City used these preventive medicines, no one else fell ill again, and the haze over the Orc City dissipated. Gunador let out a sigh of relief. This matter had finally come to an end. Even though the matter for the Orc City had concluded, things had only just begun on Qin's side. Zhao Fu started to make preparations for war. The preventive medicine that Zhao Fu had given the Orc City needed to be taken for 3 days, so they had to prepare everything within 3 days. Of course, the most important thing was to level up Town Qin. Zhao Fu could only wait in Town Qin while the soldiers outside attacked with all their might. Now that Zhao Fu had given the order, they didn't have to target the population. They had to attack the villages as fast as possible. The speed of the attack was very fast. Zhao Fu continued to receive the news of attacking the villages in Qin Town, and he also received the news of gaining countless experience points. After the first day, he had already gained more than 30,000 EXP. On the second day, he had earned more than 40,000 EXP. On the third day, Zhang Dahu stepped over the corpses and came to a village hall. He chose to conquer it and relocate. Notification: congratulations on upgrading Qin Town to a small city. Just as Zhao Fu received this system announcement, the entirety of Town Qin gave off a faint black light, and a massive aura spread out as a black gold light shot into the sky. At that moment, all of China's legatees sensed something and looked towards Town Qin. Zhao Fu came outside the building and saw a black pillar of light shooting into the sky. The blue sky seemed to have been dyed black, and there was no light at all. It was so dark that anyone who looked at it would feel quite afraid. Zhao Fu looked at the black pillar of light and saw a black pillar of light. The cloud started to swirl as traces of dragon-like black aura rose up from the ground within the thousands of kilometers of Qin Town and floated towards Town Qin. This scene was quite grand, and all of the people and animals within the thousands of kilometers of Qin Town stopped and looked at the black aura around them and the ground in amazement. Above Qin Town, more and more black aura gathered and became denser and denser. It gave off a powerful and ancient aura that made people want to kneel down. At that moment, all of the residents of Qin Town knelt down. Suddenly, the black aura above Qin Town started to boil and roil as it gathered towards the center, and a terrifying and oppressive aura spread out from it. Roar! A massive dragon's roar sounded out as the black aura condensed into a 1,000-meter-long black dragon that gave off a domineering aura. All of the legatees sensed this dragon's roar and understood that Qin Town was going to level up into a city. Countless legatees could only sigh as they watched Qin Town level up into a basic city. With Qin Town's power, no one could stop it anymore. However, now that the Divine Fish Festival had just ended, many legatees were quite happy to see Qin Town display its power. After all, the lowly ordinary people were simply too dazzling, and even the legatees' power had been suppressed by them. This time, Qin Town level up was also a good thing. It would let those arrogant people know that the world still belonged to the big families, and with their power, they would have to obediently lower their heads and submit to the big families. At that moment, the ordinary people in all of China who had been blessed by the heavens felt an intense pressure. Gu Qingyang, Zhang Quansheng, Yi, Liu Yubai, countless people looked incredibly serious as they looked in the direction of Great Qin, feeling a formless pressure. Compared to these ordinary people, their path was much more difficult. The greatest enemy in front of them was not the system main cities, but the large families. The system main cities were destined to be defeated by players, and the world still belonged to the big families. Facing these rising factions, the big families definitely wouldn't show any mercy, and they would even try to kill them. The cold-bloodedness and cruelty of the big families wasn't something that ordinary people could imagine. The big families had historical figures and countless years of accumulated wealth, as well as decent talents. They weren't things that ordinary factions could contend against. In front of the big families, these rising factions were relatively easy to deal with. It was just that they didn't have an opportunity yet. If they had the opportunity, the big families would definitely make a move against these rising factions. In the future, the big families and the rising factions would become the main enemies. Even though Zhao Fu didn't rely on anyone and hadn't received any help from the Ying family, Zhao Fu still belonged to the big families. After all, he had the royal bloodline of Qin, and Qin's legacy belonged to the big families. This was something that couldn't be changed. Qin Town belonged to the big families, so the other legatees wanted Qin Town to give these rising factions a show of strength and suppress their power during the Divine Fish Festival. The heavens could give them an opportunity, but they definitely wouldn't give them another opportunity. If it was the will of the heavens, it would stand on the side of the big families, as the fate of the big families wasn't something that the rising factions could compare to. Chapter 337. Back at Qin Town, Zhao Fu saw the 1,000-meter-long black dragon circling in the sky, giving off a terrifying aura. At that moment, the entirety of Qin Town gave off a bright black light, and the black pillar of light suddenly weakened before disappearing. A resplendent black mote of light appeared at the center of Qin City, and the city heart continuously trembled, sending a formless energy into the black mote of light. The black mote of light became stronger, and it gave off a brilliant cross-shaped light. Boom! The black dragon in the sky gave off a massive aura as it rushed down and entered the black mote of light. A blinding light exploded out, and a massive explosion sounded out in the sky. The black light gradually dissipated, and a black and gold square seal with a black dragon engraved on it appeared in the sky. This was Qin City's City Lord Seal. After the City Lord Seal formed, the abnormal signs in the sky disappeared, and Zhao Fu stretched out his hand, causing the City Lord Seal to turn into a ray of black light and fly into Zhao Fu's hand. Qin City's City Lord Seal. The City Lord Seal condensed by Qin City. It is the core item of a city, and it controls the highest authority in the city. System announcement. Qin City has successfully condensed a City Lord Seal. System announcement. City functions have been activated. System announcement. Congratulations, you have obtained the title of City Lord. System announcement. Congratulations, the Heaven Prayer platform has leveled up. System announcement. The last 3 historical figures sleeping in Qin City's legacy have awakened. Zhao Fu put the Qin City's City Lord Seal into his body. This City Lord Seal was quite special, and it could fuse with one's body. As such, ordinary City Lord Seals were not easy to obtain, and they could only be obtained by killing City Lords. Other methods, such as stealing or stealing, were not possible. After all, City Lord Seals fused with City Lords, and ordinary people would not even be able to touch them, much less see them. Following this, Zhao Fu started to look at the system announcements. He did not need to look at the first one, and Zhao Fu looked at the second one, which was the activation of city functions. This function was similar to the functions of system main cities. If a town leveled up to a basic city, it would have all sorts of functions of a system main city. Moreover, the title of City Lord would make the indigenous residents respect him more, and could increase morale and morale. The next one was the attributes of the Heaven Prayer Platform. Heaven Prayer Platform, a special structure of a kingdom's legacy village. It could be leveled up with the village. Special stats: resistance to natural disasters plus 75%, chance of spawning S grade or above villagers plus 40%. The last message was about the awakening of 3 historical figures. However, only the last 3 were displayed here. Could it be that there are no historical figures after upgrading the city? Zhao Fu felt that all of the historical figures had leveled up to basic cities, so there shouldn't be any more. Zhao Fu felt quite disappointed because there were still many famous generals and ministers in Qin that hadn't appeared yet. However, that was the rule, and there was nothing Zhao Fu could do about it. As for the next 3 historical figures, Zhao Fu was quite curious. When they arrived at the starting ground, Zhao Fu waved his hand. 3 golden lights appeared, and 3 figures appeared on the starting ground. The first one was a big man with a face full of beard. He was tall and sturdy and emitted a powerful aura. Name: Sima Qo Grade. SS title: None Profession. General profession effects. Can hold 2 different military professions. Achievement points: Commoner race. Human age: 25. 100 loyalty. 100 stats. Strength: 9 intelligence. 8 constitution. 9 agility. 7 cultivation. Stage 0 cultivation technique. None skills. None equipment. Coarse cloth clothes, cloth shoes, coarse cloth pants. Sima Qiu was a famous general in Great Qin, and like Bai Qi, he had made many contributions to Great Qin. His main achievements were destroying the Shu Kingdom and attacking the Wei Kingdom and Chu Kingdom. In history, Sima Qiu was also a famous general and was extremely loyal to his country. However, there were no historical records of what happened to him, and it was quite mysterious. The second person was a scholarly young man wearing a robe. However, his eyes were incredibly sharp, and no one dared to look at him directly. Name: Shang Yang Grade. SSS title: None Profession. None Achievement points. Commoner race. Human age: 24. 100 loyalty. 100 stats. Strength: 9 intelligence. 12 constitution. 8 agility. 7 cultivation. Stage 0 cultivation technique. None skills. None equipment. Robe, cloth shoes. This person is Shang Yang? Zhao Fu was quite surprised. Shang Yang was quite famous in history, and it was because of his reforms that Qin became rich and powerful, laying a solid foundation for Great Qin to unify the other 6 states. It was a pity that Shang Yang's ending was not very good, as he had offended King Huiyuan. After Duke Xiao passed away and King Huiyuan ascended to the throne, Shang Yang was framed by Gongzi Qian for plotting a rebellion, and King Huiyuan wanted to kill Shang Yang. In the end, Shang Yang was forced to lead an army, but he died in defeat. His corpse was brought back to Xianyang City, and he was executed by a chariot before being publicly displayed. The third person was a well-built man who was quite short, but his aura was steady and gave off the aura of a general. Name: Zhang Han Grade. SS title: None Profession. General profession effects. Can hold 2 military professions. Achievement points: Commoner race. Human age: 24. 100 loyalty. 100 stats. Strength: 10 intelligence. 9 constitution. 8 agility. 7 cultivation. Stage 0 cultivation technique. None skills. None equipment. Cloth clothes, cloth shoes. Zhang Han was the last general of the Great Qin dynasty, and he was a famous general during the reign of Qin's second emperor, Huai. After quelling the rebellion between Chun Shan and Wu Guang, he conquered the various feudal vassals and dealt heavy blows to Wei, Qi, Chu, and Zhao. The king of Wei, Wei Jiao, the king of Qi, Wu Chun, the king of Zhao, and Xiang Liang were all killed, and King Huai of Chu moved the capital, while Liu Bang and Xiang Ji retreated. It was a pity that Qin had already been ravaged by Zhao Gao and Hu Hai, and it was on the verge of collapse. Zhang Han's failure was destined. He was first defeated by Chu, then by Han, and in the end he committed suicide. The 3 people appeared on the origin land, and their eyes gradually regained their consciousness. They knelt to Zhao Fu and respectfully called out, "Your Majesty." Zhao Fu smiled. He had obtained 3 more historical figures, and he had them rise. It was a pity that no more historical figures would appear in the future. Zhao Fu called Li Si over and had him explain Qin's current situation to the 3 of them. He then gave the order to recall all of the soldiers and prepare to attack Orc City. Following this, Zhao Fu went to the city heart and looked at Qin City's stats. Village name: Qin City, epic, level, small city village area. 800 square kilometers village territory, 25,180 square kilometers popular support, 85 special stats, territory crop yield plus 120%, territory crop growth time minus 120%, population limit plus 90%, resident stats plus 8, soldiers stats plus 9, population attraction plus 110%, high-grade attraction plus 110%. Subsidiary village limit, 1,200. Chapter 338. After looking at the Qin City stats, Zhao Fu started to wait in the Qin City. Soon, the various generals and generals returned to the Qin City and came to the Great Hall. Seeing that everyone had returned, Zhao Fu started to discuss the matter of Orc City with his generals and come up with a detailed plan. As for the other soldiers, he had them rest for the time being in order to prepare for tomorrow's battle. Tomorrow would be the first time that the Qin City would have such a large-scale battle. It was early in the morning, and the air was fresh and clear. There weren't many clouds in the sky, and it was a deep blue color, looking quite beautiful. During the past 3 days, Orc City had returned to normal. After eating Zhao Fu's medicine, no one fell ill. Butterfly and the other Orc generals split into 4 groups of roughly 20,000 Orc soldiers, and they started to conquer the outside world. Orc City controlled teleportation channels and had 14 Orc villages. The Orcs only wanted Orc villages, and they either didn't use the other villages or destroyed them. It wasn't just the humans, the Outlanders, and all other races greatly disliked other races. Even though Zhao Fu had many Outlanders under his command, he would still stand on the human side. However, he wouldn't mistreat them as long as they remained loyal to the Qin City. Zhao Fu's 60,000 soldiers were split into 4 groups. Zhao Fu, Bai Qi, Wang Jian, and Wei Liao each led a group, while Zhao Fu went to find Butterfly's group. Butterfly rode on a massive wolf and led the Orc soldiers forwards, searching through the surrounding villages. If it was an Orc village, he would conquer it. If it was an ordinary village, he would slaughter it. However, because he wanted to trade with Zhao Fu, he kept some of the lower-grade Orcs alive. Zhao Fu rode on Little Black and stood on a hill as he looked at Butterfly in the distance. His gaze was cold as he started to give orders to prepare some black branches. These branches were the branches of hidden evil grass, and they were at the top of the roots. They weren't suitable for refining hidden evil, but they could be used to catalyze hidden evil. The burning of the hidden evil branch would produce white smoke that wouldn't harm ordinary people. Zhao Fu planned to use it to catalyze the hidden evil hidden in the beastmen's bodies. Although the method was a little despicable, there was no such thing as too much deception in war. Since there was such a good method, why wouldn't Zhao Fu use it? Don't tell me I'm going to stupidly fight a fair and just battle with the Orcs. That was impossible. Zhao Fu ordered the hundreds of Qin assassins to start moving. The hundreds of Qin assassins moved quickly. Their silhouettes shuttled through the forest, and soon they caught up with Butterfly's group. Butterfly had brought 5,000 or so Orcs with him, and he led his army at the front. Because Butterfly was quite powerful, Great Qin's assassins didn't want to face him head-on. Instead, they lit up bundles of hidden evil grass and placed them on the ground. These bundles of hidden evil grass were as thick as an arm and 15 centimeters long, and they were filled with flammable substances. As such, as soon as they were lit up, dense white smoke would rise up. The bundles of hidden evil grass were quite far away from the Orcs. Zhao Fu knew that Butterfly was quite powerful, and if they got too close, they would definitely be discovered. As such, as long as the white smoke was close enough, it would be fine. As the white smoke spread, Butterfly immediately became wary. Just as he was about to say something, the Orcs within the white smoke powerlessly fell to the ground with pained expressions on their faces as they struggled on the ground. Seeing this, Butterfly was given a big fright and immediately yelled, "Hurry and get away from that white smoke." However, at that moment, The Chin assassins approached the group and lit up bundles of hidden evil grass before throwing them into the group of orcs. Seeing the pitiful state of their fellow orcs within the white smoke, the group of orcs started to panic and run in all directions with terrified expressions on their faces. However, as the burning bundles of hidden evil grass were thrown into the group of orcs, any orcs who breathed in the white smoke would fall to the ground. At that moment, Zhao Fu led 10,000 or so soldiers out of the forest and lit up bundles of hidden evil grass before throwing them into the group of orcs. Respected orc friends, long time no see. Have you been well? Zhao Fu said with a trace of smile as he slowly walked out on Little Black. By now, the entire group of orcs had been surrounded by Zhao Fu, and less than 100 of them were still standing. This was what Zhao Fu wanted, to easily take down the orcs. These orcs had been consuming hidden evil for a long time, so there were many toxins in their bodies. This was the day that Zhao Fu had been waiting for a long time. Bottle looked at Zhao Fu and the soldiers surrounding them, and he understood that Zhao Fu was going to kill them. He furiously roared, "Despicable human! I'll kill you!" The furious Bottle exploded out with a powerful aura that rivaled that of a stage 4 expert. The remaining giant wolf on his body could sense its owner's anger, and it savagely glared at Zhao Fu before roaring and charging at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was quite surprised to see that Bottle wasn't affected by the white smoke. It was most likely that the higher-ups of Orc City hadn't consumed hidden evil and were instead using other medicinal pills. Facing Bottle's furious charge, Zhao Fu smiled and stood his ground. There were already over 1,000 archers by his side, and they drew their bows. As Bottle rushed over, arrows and arrows flew out from their bows. Bottle swung out his wolf-tooth club, causing a massive sonic boom to sound out. Chapter 339. Just then, Zhao Fu had used his City Lord Seal's power. Compared to a nation armament, a City Lord Seal didn't consume as much energy as a nation armament, mainly because it didn't consume any fate. However, he couldn't casually use the City Lord Seal's power, as it could affect the city. However, it was fine to use it when necessary. Riding on Little Black, Zhao Fu walked towards Bottle as he said, "Orc City is definitely going to lose. If you submit to me, I definitely won't mistreat you, and you'll have good achievements in the future." Zhao Fu felt that Bottle's talent and potential were quite good, so he wanted to try and recruit him. Bottle coldly harumphed and stood up, covered with blood as he said, "Human, I won't betray City Lord Kaki." Following this, Bottle raised a spike club and rushed toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu frowned and casually slashed out a massive black sword light. Bottle's expression became serious as he blocked with his spike club, but that black sword light easily sent Bottle flying. Even though Bottle's strength was comparable to a stage 4 expert's, in front of Zhao Fu's City Lord Seal, he was unable to resist at all. After all, Zhao Fu's strength wasn't any weaker than a stage 4 expert's. "I'll give you another chance. Are you willing to submit?" Zhao Fu's gaze became cold as he looked at Bottle with killing intent. If Bottle refused to surrender, Zhao Fu would have to kill him. Bottle once again climbed up from the ground and said, "Human, don't even think about it. I, Bottle, will only submit to the great City Lord Kaki. Even if you kill me, City Lord Kaki will definitely take revenge for me." Zhao Fu looked at Bottle, who had once again climbed up from the ground and was charging at him with his spike club. He didn't hold back and stood his ground. Bottle, covered with blood, savagely roared as he rushed over. Zhao Fu expressionlessly slashed out with his sword, and an incredibly sharp black arc of light flashed out, seeming to tear apart space itself. Pooh! Bottle's head flew high into the air, and a large amount of blood spurted out from his neck. Bottle's body fell powerlessly to the ground. Zhao Fu waved his hand and put the corpse into his king's ring before turning his gaze to the other battlefields. There were less than 100 orcs left, and with the hidden evil poison, they had to face 10,000 soldiers, so they were slaughtered in an instant. Then, Zhao Fu ordered his men to tie up the struggling orcs on the ground and deal with them after the battle was over. The other Qin's troops were almost in the same situation as Zhao Fu. They used the evil annihilation branches to catalyze the toxins in the bodies of countless orc soldiers. Compared to the beastmen commoners, these beastmen soldiers have been poisoned for a long time. Once they were catalyzed by evil annihilation, the beastmen all fell to the ground. Bai Qi and the others first tied up the orcs and started to move towards the orc city from 4 different directions. They first set up an isolation barrier that cut off all teleportation channels within 100 kilometers of the orc city. However, they didn't activate the isolation barrier because once it was activated, no teleportation channels would be able to be used within 100 kilometers of the orc city. This would make people wary, and Zhao Fu's plan would be exposed. Of course, the orc city didn't notice that the 20,000 orcs who had been sent out had been easily taken down by Zhao Fu, and their number 1 warrior, Butterfly, had died. Zhao Fu went to a high ground and looked at the tall orc city in the distance. Zhao Fu ordered his people to infiltrate the orc city and carry out the next part of his plan. Right now, what Zhao Fu wasn't sure about were the 220,000 orc commoners. Even though Zhao Fu knew that they had been consuming evil annihilation for 3 days, Zhao Fu didn't know how effective it was. As for the orc soldiers, Zhao Fu wasn't too worried. There were also the high-ranking generals of the orc city. They hadn't consumed evil annihilation, but there weren't many of them. Zhao Fu's generals could deal with them. The greatest danger to the orc city was still City Lord Kaki. Zhao Fu had an extremely bad impression of City Lord Kaki, and he didn't want to subdue him because it was impossible. Zhao Fu ordered his people to infiltrate the orc city mainly because he wanted to cooperate with the 20,000 slaves. If they were willing to cooperate, they would work together with Qin. If they weren't willing to cooperate, they wouldn't help Qin, and they definitely wouldn't help the orcs. After all, these slaves definitely hadn't consumed evil annihilation. If these slaves helped the orcs at a critical moment, in order to ensure the safety of Qin's soldiers, Zhao Fu would have to kill all of these slaves before dealing with the orcs. This time, Old Log and the kobold Doke sneaked in. Zhao Fu didn't know why the orcs liked these 2 outlanders as slaves. Old Log and Doke disguised themselves as trash haulers and successfully snuck into the orc city. They then started to look for the leaders of the slaves. Normally, there would be a few leaders, and this group of slaves would definitely be the same. After Doke snuck in, he relied on his sensitive nose and quickly found where the kobold slaves were gathered. Old Log temporarily followed behind him. Seeing this scene, Doke felt quite sad. The houses here were just made from a few pieces of rags and wood, and they couldn't block the wind and rain at all. There were many kobolds gathered here, and all of them were quite skinny and had many injuries. Their eyes were completely numb, making them look like pools of stagnant water. Even though Doke didn't recognize these kobolds, as they were of the same race, he could feel their sorrow. Doke felt quite heavy, and he went up to ask around and easily found a kobold leader. This was a middle-aged kobold with a face full of wrinkles and a dejected expression. "Do you want to leave here?" Doke asked earnestly as he looked at the middle-aged kobold after checking to see if there were anyone else. Hearing Doke's words, the middle-aged kobold numbly looked at the unfamiliar kobold in front of him, and a trace of hope appeared in his eyes. No one wanted to be a slave and be cursed at. "Do you have any ideas?" The middle-aged kobold asked excitedly as he looked at Doke with a look of delight. Doke nodded earnestly and said, "Our Majesty is about to attack Orc City and has already made preparations. We're about to attack Orc City, and we've already made preparations. Orc City will definitely lose this time, so His Majesty is willing to give you a chance. If you perform well, you'll be released from your slavery." "What? You're going to attack Orc City?" The middle-aged kobold looked incredibly shocked and couldn't believe what he was hearing. From what he knew, the surrounding 10,000 kilometers around Orc City was a top-tier faction, and no one had ever wavered. It was synonymous with terror and death, and now someone was saying that they were going to attack it. How could this middle-aged kobold believe it? Seeing that the middle-aged kobold didn't believe him, Doke felt quite pleased as he said, "Our Majesty is the legatee of an empire, and he has many cities like this. Taking down Orc City will be incredibly easy. In order to make the middle-aged kobold believe him, Doak exaggerated Qin's strength. He then took out his legendary great spear and showed it to the middle-aged kobold, saying, "We have hundreds of pieces of trash legendary great equipment like this." Chapter 340. All right, no matter what His Majesty wants us to do, we'll do it, the middle-aged kobold said excitedly. This was their only chance to escape, so they definitely couldn't let it go. Doak smiled as he replied, "It's nothing much. If you can help His Majesty attack the Orc City, such as opening a gate, you'll receive great benefits. Of course, you can also do nothing and run away when His Majesty attacks the Orc City. You can choose between those two options. If you choose the first option, you'll immediately receive His Majesty's protection and have a better life. His Majesty treats us kobolds very well. And if you choose the second option, you'll be able to find an opportunity to run away. That's not bad either, but think about the days without the protection of a village." The middle-aged kobold felt quite surprised. He had expected the first option. The other side wanted to attack the Orc City and wanted them to work with them. He had not expected the second option at all, but this was enough to show the other side's strength. He then thought about the legendary great equipment that Doak had. The middle-aged kobold calmed down. It was definitely not easy to obtain the protection of such a powerful faction. Seeing that Doak was also a kobold and was doing quite well, he agreed to help Qin. However, the middle-aged kobold was only one of the leaders of the kobold slaves. There were 10 or so other leaders, and the orcs would not allow one leader to control all of the kobolds. That would make it too easy for them to rebel and be difficult to control. The middle-aged kobold immediately sent people to notify the other kobold leaders. At that moment, Doak said seriously, "This is too confidential and cannot be leaked. As such, we have to make sure that all of the leaders agree. If anyone tries to leak this information, we have to kill them immediately." The middle-aged kobold understood the importance of this matter, so he nodded seriously. He first found a few leaders he trusted and discussed with them before gathering the others. Doak and Old Logue stayed here for a while in case anything unexpected happened. Luckily, all of the kobolds happily agreed to submit to Qin. Next, Doak left some of his weapons and went to the goblin side with Old Logue. They used the same method to find a goblin leader and convince him before gathering the others. Two of the goblin leaders felt that the orcs were too powerful and that Qin couldn't defeat them. They even wanted to report this matter, and the two goblin leaders were killed by the other goblin leaders. Seeing that their mission was completed, Doak and Old Logue returned to Qin to report. After hearing that the plan had succeeded, Zhao Fu grinned and gave the order to activate the isolation barrier. A formless energy immediately locked down the area within 100 kilometers of Orc City. This caused the orcs, who were about to use the teleportation channels, to feel quite surprised. Before they could understand what was going on, Zhao Fu gave the order to attack, and they easily conquered the orc villages near the Orc City. There weren't many beastmen in the Beastman village, only a few hundred. After a few volleys of arrows, not many of them would die. Zhao Fu didn't know if these beastmen had used hidden evil. If they had used hidden evil, then using the white smoke would be more effective. However, they needed to finish the battle quickly, and using the white smoke would be too slow. Very soon, Zhao Fu led his people to the Orc City, and Bai Qi, Wang Jian, and Wei Liao also arrived, surrounding the Orc City from 4 directions. Each team had 12,000 or so people, and it would be quite impossible to take down a city with 200,000 or so people. After all, their forces were spread out, and they would not be able to unleash much of their power. If they gathered their forces together, their chances of success would be greater, but Zhao Fu had other plans. Zhao Fu ordered people to bring out ballistae. These ballistae were quite powerful, and they could shoot high and far. Zhao Fu then tied hidden evil branches to them. When Orc City's other villages were being attacked, they sensed that something was off, and they immediately closed the city gates. The orc soldiers also came to the city walls. When Gunador heard about this, he immediately rushed to the city walls. When he saw that familiar figure standing in front of the orc soldiers, he became furious and yelled, "Despicable! Human, you dare to bring soldiers to attack Orc City? I'll definitely kill you and use your skin as a carpet." Seeing Gunador's terrifying expression, Zhao Fu laughed. Now that they had shed all pretense of cordiality, there was nothing for him to hold back. "Ha ha!" Zhao Fu loudly laughed, saying, "Old man, you're too confident. Aren't you being too confident?" Gunador coldly laughed, saying, "Foolish human, do you think that you can take down Orc City with just these few people? You're dreaming. Is that so?" Even though Zhao Fu was smiling, his eyes were filled with coldness as he said in a cold tone, "All soldiers, listen up. Fire!" Swish, 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 all of the soldiers obeyed, and the atmosphere became incredibly tense. They immediately shot out ballista bolts, which were incredibly powerful and tore through the air, causing everyone's hairs to stand on end. Gunador was given a big fright, and he immediately had his soldiers raise their shields to defend. However, he found that the ballista bolts weren't even aimed at them. Instead, they flew over them and into Orc City. They didn't know what was tied to the ballista bolts, but they gave off dense white smoke. The white smoke quickly spread throughout Orc City, and before Gunador could react, another wave of ballista bolts shot out. These ballista bolts were once again aimed at the city, not the orcs. These ballista bolts only gave off dense smoke and weren't on fire. It seemed that they weren't trying to burn down Orc City. Gunador felt quite surprised and didn't understand why Zhao Fu had shot so many ballista bolts. However, when he saw the orc soldiers breathe in the white smoke and fall to the ground in pain, he couldn't help but wonder, aren't these the same symptoms as before? Immediately, Gunador seemed to understand something, and his old face became savage as he looked at Zhao Fu with killing intent. "Human, you're a human. I'll cut you into 1,000 pieces and make you beg for death." Zhao Fu disdainfully coldly laughed. Gunador was just putting up a last-ditch struggle. Zhao Fu ordered the archers to start shooting at the city walls with hidden evil grass. Thick white smoke started to spread out from the city walls, and Gunador raised his wooden staff, causing a green light to explode out. Just as he was about to do something, a green light exploded out. Just as he was about to do something, Zhao Fu took out his great rock spirit bow and drew it, aiming an arrow at Gunador. Zhao Fu released the arrow, which turned into a violet light as it shot out. It was incredibly fast, and in the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Gunador. Chapter 341. Seeing this scene, Gunador felt incredibly pained. And he blamed himself. He had trusted this human too easily, and he had unknowingly fed poison to the orc soldiers. What is that? The only thing that could be fed to the orc soldiers is medicinal pills. Gunador was infuriated to the extreme. This human had been acting against Orc City from the very beginning. "Human, you're too despicable. I'll definitely kill you." "I'm despicable?" Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he loudly asked. "Then, Vice Lord, when did you ever treat me as a friend? When have you ever treated me as a friend? Have you never thought of attacking my village? None of us are much better off." Gunador's face became red and twisted. He couldn't refute Zhao Fu's words. He glared at Zhao Fu with killing intent and prepared to jump down from the city walls to fight Zhao Fu to the death. Boom! A massive aura descended, causing the clouds to swirl. A powerful figure stood in the air. It was the city lord of Orc City, Kaki. Tears streamed down Gunador's face as he looked at the figure in the sky and cried out, "City Lord, I deserve to die. I deserve to die, it's all my fault. Please punish me." Kaki's expression was cold as he coldly harumphed and said, "We'll talk after we beat back the enemies." Gunador nodded and raised the wooden staff in his hand, causing a green light to shine out. The 1,000 orcs who had fallen to the ground suddenly stood up, and their bodies gave off a blood-red aura. They were incredibly powerful, and they didn't seem sick at all. At the same time, Gunador seemed to have aged quite a bit. This was a secret technique that consumed his and his soldiers' life force, temporarily suppressing the hidden evil poison within their bodies. Kaki's cold gaze turned to Zhao Fu as he said, "Human, you dare to set your sights on Orc City? You dare to set your sights on Orc City? That means you deserve to die. Right now, the only thing we can do is to kill the main commander, Zhao Fu. Only then will we have a chance at victory." Zhao Fu raised his head and looked at Kaki with a serious expression as he lightly yelled, "All things are void." Swish, swish, swish. A group of people wearing black hoods suddenly appeared beside Zhao Fu. They lowered their heads and knelt on one knee, greeting him respectfully in unison. "Your Highness." A total of 12 people appeared in front of Zhao Fu. They were Tuoba Qing and Little Sha, Lu Mei Wang Ergu, 12 people who had received the legacy of the assassin. After so much time had passed, the 12 of them had all obtained assassin legacies and grasped the second forms of their weapons. Their auras were all powerful and mysterious. Kill Gunador. Zhao Fu had the 12 people deal with Gunador. The 12 of them were almost at stage 2, while Gunador was only at stage 3. However, with the 12 of them working together, they were more than enough to deal with Gunador. At this moment, Zhao Fu wasn't in a hurry to attack the city. He was just trying to attract the Orc City Lord's attention. The other 3 directions were where he would attack. The 12 figures disappeared and started to assassinate Gunador. Kaki suddenly acted. He took out a large axe and gave off a massive aura as he turned into a gray ray of light and rushed toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu tapped off the ground, causing the ground to crack. His body turned into a black ray of light as he rushed into the sky to meet Kaki. The two of them clashed in the sky. "You're the city lord." After exchanging a single blow, Kaki had never thought that the person in front of him, who he had thought was just a minor figure, would be the city lord of a basic city like him. This was because Zhao Fu was also using his city lord seal's power. Zhao Fu didn't reply, and his sword gave off a massive sword light as it slashed towards Kaki. The two of them fought in the sky, and terrifying shockwaves blasted out. Below, Qin's soldiers didn't attack, and they only used arrows to attack the city walls. There were only 1,000 or so orc soldiers on the city walls, and they were using up all of their life force. What they lacked the most was time, so they couldn't afford to waste time like this with Qin. However, if they went down to the city walls and faced 10,000 soldiers, they would definitely die. Gunador ordered a few generals to organize the orc residents to defend the city. The generals understood the urgency of the situation, so they immediately came down from the city walls. However, by now, Orc City was covered in white smoke. Countless orc residents breathed in this white smoke, and even though they weren't as affected as the soldiers, because they had eaten so much hidden evil over the past 3 days, they were still greatly affected by the white smoke. All of them looked incredibly weak and powerless, and they were covered in cold sweat. They didn't have any fighting strength at all. However, there were a few strong-looking orcs who still had some fighting strength, and they were quickly organized by the generals. There were roughly 3,000 people in total, and they held weapons as they quickly climbed up the city walls. This was the last bit of fighting strength that Orc City had left, and they were sent to the eastern city walls to defend against Zhao Fu's attacks. However, the other 3 sides were being ferociously attacked by Qin soldiers. Even though they had mobilized some orc residents to defend, there were very few orcs who could fight. Within Orc City, the 20,000 or so slaves looked at the white smoke covering Orc City and fell deathly silent. Orcs fell to the ground, looking incredibly pained and moaning. Many orcs tried to struggle, making it seem like a white hell. Seeing this scene, the slaves were incredibly delighted. Orc City was definitely going to lose. The forces attacking it were simply too powerful, and Orc City couldn't resist at all. They didn't even need to fight to reap the fruits of victory, and this was an opportunity for them to show off. The 20,000 slaves split into 3 groups and worked together with Qin's soldiers. Bai Qi and the others didn't even need to use their general armaments to easily take down the 3 city walls. Vice Lord, crap, the southern city wall has been breached. Vice Lord, crap, the western city wall has been breached. Vice Lord, Crap, the northern city wall has been breached. As more and more information entered Gunador's ears, Gunador's heart sank. Now, Orc City had fallen, and there was no doubt about it. Finally, the city wall that he was defending wouldn't be able to last for much longer. Qin's soldiers only used their bows to attack and didn't directly attack the city in order to stall for time. Gunador and his soldiers couldn't afford to waste time like this. City Lord, hurry and leave. Orc City had already lost, and all Gunador wanted was for Kaki to escape. Otherwise, with tens of thousands of soldiers in Zhao Fu, it would be impossible for them to win. With Kaki's strength, it was still possible for him to rise again. As for Gunador, he decided to take Zhao Fu down with him. Sky Demon Slash. Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out, sending out a terrifying arc of light towards Kaki. Kaki swung his axe, giving off mountain-splitting power as he slashed out a gray blade of light. The two attacks collided, resulting in a massive explosion. At that moment, Kaki found that he wasn't a match for Zhao Fu. Hearing Gunador's words and the various system announcements, he understood that Orc City had completely lost. Even though he was quite unwilling, he still made a decision. Suddenly, Kaki unleashed a powerful attack, forcing back Zhao Fu before flying towards the city hall. Chapter 342. Hearing Gunador's words, Zhao Fu felt quite startled. Gunador gripped his wooden staff with both hands and raised it high into the air. A green light rushed into the sky, turning into the image of a massive wolf, and a boundless aura descended from the sky. A wolf, a wolf, a wolf. Howl suddenly sounded out as at least 40,000 to 50,000 giant wolves howled as if they had been summoned by the massive wolf image in the sky. Their eyes glowed with a blood-red light, and they gave off a cruel and murderous aura as they bared their fangs and became incredibly restless. Zhao Fu suddenly understood what Gunador meant. He had never thought that there would be so many giant wolves in Orc City. If so many giant wolves charged at them, many of his 10,000 soldiers would be killed or injured. However, at that moment, a figure appeared beside Gunador, brandishing a blood-red sword and slashing at Gunador. Gunador was quite startled. He had never thought that someone like this would suddenly appear beside him. However, he couldn't care too much and exploded out with a green aura flame, forming a green protective barrier. He then gathered his power and sent it into his wooden staff. The massive wolf image in the sky made a roaring motion. "Ark!" Tuoba Chin cried out as she gripped the blood-red sword with both hands. Traces of blood-red aura rose up from her body as she sent her power into the blood-red sword. Blood-red arcs of lightning appeared around the sword, giving off a terrifying might. She slashed out. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the blood-red sword slashed against the green barrier. The air seemed to explode, causing a wild gale to blow out. Kacha! Cracks appeared on the green barrier before it shattered, and the blood-red sword slashed towards Gunador's waist. Gunador was quite startled. He had never thought that someone who hadn't even reached stage 2 would be able to slash apart his barrier. Right now, all of his power was focused on the massive wolf image, and if he didn't do anything, he would be killed. At that moment, Gunador's expression became savage, and he decided to throw caution to the wind. His original plan was to lure the tens of thousands of giant wolves over. Each of the giant wolves had stage 6 to 7 cultivation, and if they charged over, Zhao Fu would definitely suffer heavy losses. On the other hand, it was so that City Lord Kaki could escape. That way, even if he died, he would have no regrets. He gathered all of his remaining strength and poured it into the wooden staff. A pained cry sounded out as a skinny figure suddenly appeared by Gunador's side. He slashed out with his dagger, sending out a sharp arc of light that sliced off Gunador's arms. Blood spurted out from the severed arms, and the wooden staff fell to the ground. The image of the giant wolf in the sky disappeared, and the giant wolf in Orc City's den became calm again. Little Shah suddenly attacked. His attacks were cold-blooded and emotionless, and he was incredibly savage. He chopped off Gunador's hands. Not only did Little Shah have the Sin Devil bloodline, but he also had SSS grade. He also had an icy temperament, and his power grew exponentially every day. Even though he was the youngest, he had long since become the most powerful of the 12. Pu! Tuoba Ching's blood-red sword slashed out, splitting Gunador in half at the waist. The others didn't even have a chance to attack. After losing Gunador's power, the thousands of orcs who had been summoned immediately fell to the ground. Their bodies quickly aged, and soon they died. Now, there were only 3,000 orc residents left on the city walls. The 12 people started to slaughter on the city walls, and Zhao Fu gave the order to officially attack. 10,000 soldiers roared as they charged towards Orc City. Zhao Fu turned to look at Kaki in the distance. Zhao Fu understood why Kaki was flying toward the city hall. He wanted to relocate Orc City. If he could relocate Orc City, he would be able to start all over again. That way, Zhao Fu's gains would be halved. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and threw the Sky Demon Sword. The Sky Demon Sword gave off a large amount of black sword light as a massive demon image appeared. It spread its wings and gave off a terrifying aura as it flew towards Kaki. Facing the incoming demon image, Kaki swung his axe, sending out 3 10-meter-long blades of light that gave off ferocious power towards the demon image. Clang! The sound of metal colliding rang out as the massive demon image was shattered by the blades of light, and the Sky Demon Sword was sent flying. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu caught up to Kaki. He waved his hand, and the Sky Demon Sword turned into a ray of black light and returned to Zhao Fu's hand. Kaki's expression was cold as he looked at Zhao Fu. Seeing that his escape had been interrupted, he was infuriated and raised his axe, giving off a mountain-splitting aura as he hacked down towards Zhao Fu. Godly demonic thrust. Zhao Fu raised the Sky Demon Sword, causing it to give off a faint demonic light as a massive sword image appeared and collided with the axe. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the two massive powers collided, causing a shockwave to ripple out. The buildings below were completely destroyed. By now, Bai Qi and the others had arrived at the city hall. They raised their general armaments, causing 3 pillars of light to shoot into the sky. The weather suddenly changed as a massive aura spread out, and 3 massive figures appeared in the sky. After the 3 giant beasts appeared, they immediately crashed into the City Lord Mansion, directly smashing it into pieces. However, a huge golden energy barrier appeared. At the center of the ruins, there was a golden cube floating in the air, giving off a 50-meter-wide golden energy barrier. This was the Orc City's city heart. Bai Qi and the others took this opportunity to raise their swords and slash at the golden energy barrier. The 3 massive beasts gave off immense power as they smashed towards the golden energy barrier. Boom! A muffled explosion sounded out as the 3 massive beasts smashed against the golden energy barrier. However, the golden energy barrier did not budge at all. A city-level barrier was not so easy to destroy. This gave Kaki a big fright. If the barrier was destroyed and the city heart was taken, his City Lord seal would lose its power and become a piece of trash. Kaki didn't hesitate to roar as a powerful aura exploded out from him. Countless rays of gray light appeared as a square stone seal with an orc engraved on it appeared above Kaki's head. Zhao Fu's pupils constricted, and he raised the Sky Demon Sword with one hand, causing a black ray of light to shoot into the sky. A dragon's roar sounded out as boundless black light scattered, and a black golden seal with a black dragon engraved on it appeared above Zhao Fu. Sensing this power, Kaki felt quite startled. As the city lord of the Forest of Horrors, even though it was only a basic city and couldn't compare to a system main city, he knew that the most terrifying thing in the Forest of Horrors wasn't the 6-eyed flood dragon, but a mysterious person. Chapter 343. Even though his opponent was monstrous, Kaki couldn't just give up like this. He once again roared and took out his City Lord seal. The City Lord seal's power was completely unleashed as Khaki slashed out with his axe. The entire sky trembled and gave off a powerful aura of suppression as the massive axe light slashed towards Zhao Fu with the power to split the heavens and the earth. Zhao Fu quickly dodged to the side, not choosing to face it head-on. Boom! A loud sound rang out as the astonishing axe light fell, directly opening up a 100-meter-long axe mark on the ground. Zhao Fu dodged to the side. There was nothing to be anxious about right now. He decided to keep Khaki occupied while Bai Qi and the others destroy the golden energy barrier. After conquering the city, he would be able to win for sure. Roar! Roar! Scree! The three massive beasts roared and exploded out with immense power, giving off ferocious auras as they once again slammed towards the golden energy barrier. Boom! Another massive explosion sounded out as the three massive beasts slammed into the golden energy barrier. However, the golden energy barrier was completely undamaged. It was simply too tough. With the three massive beasts' power, they could smash apart a small mountain, but they were completely unaffected by the golden energy barrier. Bai Qi and the others once again unleashed their power and continued to control the three beasts to attack the golden energy barrier. As the three massive beasts continuously attacked, the golden energy barrier started to tremble. Khaki immediately turned his gaze to Bai Qi and the others and ferociously attacked, once again forcing Zhao Fu back. Khaki took this opportunity to fly over and attack Bai Qi and the others. Swish, swish, swish! The soldiers grasped this opportunity, and countless arrows tore through the air as they enveloped Khaki. There were over 10,000 arrows, and the sounds they gave off were incredibly terrifying. Khaki couldn't afford to be careless, and he continuously swung his axe, sending out countless blades of air and intense wind pressure, sending all of the incoming arrows flying. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu suddenly appeared beside Khaki, and his sword gave off a sword light as it slashed towards Khaki's throat. This sudden attack was very dangerous. Khaki tried his best to tilt his head back. Although he managed to dodge Zhao Fu's attack, his chest was still cut by Zhao Fu. However, the wound was very small and didn't cause much harm to Khaki. Khaki was infuriated, and he grabbed his axe and swung it toward Zhao Fu, causing Zhao Fu to once again retreat. Zhao Fu's main task was to tie down Khaki, not to fight him head-on. Using brute force to defeat him would be quite difficult. Roar! Roar! Howl! At this moment, the three beasts roared and once again launched their attacks. The blood-colored eagle swooped down, its claws clawing at the golden energy barrier, emitting a resounding clang that pierced through everyone's eardrums. The black tiger and green greedy wolf mustered their strength and ran a few steps before slamming into the golden energy barrier. A muffled sound rang out as the golden energy barrier started to tremble. This meant that the golden energy barrier wouldn't last much longer. Seeing this, Khaki felt quite startled and took a step back. He turned to Zhao Fu and said, "Human, I'll only take the city creation stone. Everything in Orc City will belong to you, and I'll make all of the orcs submit to you." Zhao Fu was quite surprised that this powerful orc had chosen to take a step back. Zhao Fu wasn't very interested in anything else in Orc City, and if he could make all of his 200,000 or so orcs submit, that would be quite good. This way, Zhao Fu would have an additional 200,000 or so people. However, all of the orcs were under Zhao Fu's control, and Zhao Fu could decide whether they lived or died. How could he agree to Khaki's demands? "Apologies, I want all of this," Zhao Fu coldly replied as he continuously slashed out a few sword lights that were 10 or so meters long towards Khaki. Khaki was infuriated and gripped his axe with both hands as he swung upwards, sending out a powerful axe light that destroyed the sword lights that Zhao Fu had slashed out. Zhao Fu once again slashed out and attacked Khaki. He wasn't in a rush, and his main goal was to keep Khaki busy. Under the ferocious attacks of the three orcs, the golden energy barrier continuously trembled, and it could only last for less and less time. Khaki became more and more anxious. Once the golden energy barrier was destroyed, he would die without a doubt. Ark, Kaki roared as he raised his axe, and an incredibly powerful aura exploded out. The axe gave off a large amount of gray light, and a sharp aura spread out. Behind Kaki, a 10-meter-tall orc image raised its head to the sky and roared, shaking the clouds. Kaki exploded out with his orc ancestor's power, and at that moment, Kaki slashed out with his axe. Boom! A terrifying axe light flew out, seeming as if it was going to split apart the heavens and earth, and even space itself seemed to be torn apart. Zhao Fu was greatly startled, and he dodged as he unleashed godly demon shield. The sky demon sword gave off a large amount of black light, and a 4-meter-wide, 10-meter-tall, goat-headed demon shield image appeared in front of Zhao Fu, giving off a boundless aura of toughness. The massive axe light slammed into the shield image, causing sparks to fly. With a clang, the shield image shattered, and Zhao Fu immediately used his sword to block in front of him and unleashed his king's domain. However, he was still sent flying by the axe. Seeing this, Kaki stopped attacking Zhao Fu and turned into a ray of gray light as he shot towards the golden energy barrier. If he could enter the golden energy barrier, he would be able to escape with the city creation stone. Bai Qi and the others were given a big fright, and they stopped attacking the golden energy barrier and controlled the 3 beasts to attack Kaki. Kaki was infuriated. He had just escaped from Zhao Fu, and now he was being harassed by these 3 beasts. He continuously slashed out with his axe, but the 3 beasts were completely unafraid of death and continued to attack him. Demon Son, Zhao Fu stopped his body in midair, and a trace of blood leaked out of his lips. He looked quite wretched, and he roared in anger. Boom! A jet-black, demonic pillar rushed into the sky, and a massive wave of demonic chi spread out. The sun in the sky was gradually dyed black, and it gave off a terrifying demonic light that seemed to devour souls. A boundless demonic intent ferociously pressed down like the heavens and earth's spiritual pressure. At that moment, Zhao Fu used his City Lord Seal and Nation Armament's power, and he slashed down, sending out a shocking sword chi that gave off an aura that could kill all living creatures towards Kaki. Boom! The massive sword chi sent Kaki flying, and even the fragile golden energy barrier was destroyed. At that moment, Zhao Fu didn't hesitate to turn into a ray of black light and fly towards the golden cube floating in the air. On the other side, Kaki, who had been sent flying, was covered with blood. Seeing this, he also turned into a ray of light and flew towards the city heart. Bai Qi and the others immediately controlled the 3 beasts to block in front of Kaki, but they were all sent flying by Kaki. Chapter 344. System Announcement. Would you like to conquer Kaki City? Zhao Fu placed his hand on the golden cube and immediately received a system announcement. Without hesitation, Zhao Fu chose to conquer it. System Announcement. Congratulations, you have conquered Kaki City. System Announcement. Congratulations, you have obtained 1,000 achievement points. System Announcement. Congratulations, you have obtained 10 conquest points. A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face. Everything had been resolved, and Zhao Fu could finally relax. I'm going to kill you. The City Lord Seal's power gradually disappeared, and the stone seal on Kaki's head gradually lost its luster before falling to the ground. Kaki savagely roared as he rushed at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu coldly looked at Kaki charging at him and waved his hand, sending out a formless energy that sent Kaki flying. Right now, Kaki only had stage 4 strength, so how could he stop Zhao Fu, who had a City Lord seal? Kaki was sent flying and crashed against a wall, causing him to cough up a mouthful of blood. I'll give you a chance. Are you willing to submit to me? If you're willing to submit, Orc City will belong to you again. Zhao Fu held the Sky Demon Sword as he walked over to Kaki. After all, Kaki was a stage 4 expert, so Zhao Fu tried to force him to surrender. Ha ha! Kaki madly laughed. He was the Orc City Lord, a ferocious orc that had shaken the surrounding 10,000 kilometers, but now he was gone. Everything had been taken by Zhao Fu. He would rather die than submit to Zhao Fu, and he hatefully looked at Zhao Fu as he swung his axe at Zhao Fu, using his actions to answer Zhao Fu's question. Zhao Fu's expression remained unchanged as he watched Kaki raise his axe and stab out with his sword, leaving behind a black sword light that pierced into Kaki's body. With a twist of the sword, Kaki's organs were completely destroyed. Before he died, Kaki's eyes were still filled with hatred as he stared at Zhao Fu. It was as if he wouldn't let Zhao Fu off even if he turned into a ghost. Then, he slowly fell to the ground and died. Bai Qi and the other generals came up and looked delighted as they cupped their hands and said, "Congratulations, Your Majesty." Zhao Fu smiled and waved his hand to collect Kaki's corpse. He then ordered Bai Qi to gather up all of the orcs who had fallen ill and gather up all of the resources. Zhao Fu then calculated all of the losses. Bai Qi and the other generals immediately went to carry out Zhao Fu's orders. Zhao Fu went to the city heart. Ever since he had first seen Orc City, Zhao Fu had been eyeing it for a long time. Now, Qin City was still a small city. Above it, there were middle cities, big cities, and above the big cities were the important cities. Great cities were about the same size as system main cities, which was why there were only 3 or 4 great cities, even though a province was so big. However, leveling up a great city was much more difficult. Not only did it require 3 basic cities, but it also required 6 basic towns. Moreover, all of them had to be of equal status. 3 basic cities required 3 viscounts, and 6 towns required 6 barons. Now, Zhao Fu had 1 basic city and 3 basic towns, so he needed 2 more basic cities and 3 towns to level up to a great city. Zhao Fu had no idea when he would be able to do this. Zhao Fu first looked at Orc City's stats. Village name, Kaki City, gold, level. Basic city, village area, 300 square kilometers village territory, 5,180 square kilometers popular support, 85 special stats, territory crop output plus 80%, territory crop growth time minus 80%, population limit plus 50%, resident stats plus 4, soldier stats plus 4%, population attraction plus 70%, high-grade attraction plus 60%. Subsidiary village limit, 300 subsidiary villages. None after looking at Orc City stats. Zhao Fu looked at the orc professions. There was no need to look at the normal professions, so he looked at the special ones. Orc Wolf Cavalry, E+ grade military description. Ferocious Orc Wolf Cavalry, one of the most powerful orc professions. Effect, receives the basic skill Ferocious Journey. Orc Shaman, DE- grade military. Description, Orc Shamans have some healing abilities and know some witchcraft. Effect, receives the basic skill Witchcraft. There was also a profession change Stone Steel for the Urukai profession, but because Zhao Fu already knew about it, he didn't mention it. There were 50 Shaman profession quests. After looking at these, Zhao Fu went to the side of Orc City. There were giant wolves that were 2 or 3 meters long, and they all lay on the ground, obediently looking at Zhao Fu. This den was quite special because it was fused with Orc City. Now that Zhao Fu had conquered Orc City, this den belonged to Zhao Fu. As such, these giant wolves didn't show any signs of savagery towards Zhao Fu, and they instead seemed quite docile. Zhao Fu went to the side of the den and saw a rhombus-shaped blood crystal floating on a platform. Zhao Fu walked up to it and looked at it. Orc Wolf Den, Town Grade, Gold Description, a special den that was fused with an orc blood crystal and a wolf denver. It can spawn ferocious orc wolves and can spawn 45 to 75 orc wolves per day. After looking at these stats, Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with this denver. With these orc wolves, he could create 40,000 to 50,000 orc cavalrymen. Of course, Zhao Fu didn't just want orc cavalrymen. He wanted other types of cavalry as well. He wanted to develop more types of soldiers so that he could adapt to battles in the future. Following this, Zhao Fu returned to Orc City. Bai Qi had already taken care of everything, and when he saw Zhao Fu return, he reported, "Your Majesty, we've captured 250,000 or so orcs, 73 city creation stones, 340,000 gold coins, and countless other items." Because there wasn't much fighting, Qin's soldiers suffered very few losses. Following this, Zhao Fu returned to Orc City. Bai Qi had already taken care of everything, and when he saw that Zhao Fu had returned, he reported, "Your Majesty, we've captured 250,000 or so orcs, 73 city creation stones, 340,000 gold coins, and countless other items." No matter how ferocious the orcs were, they wouldn't be able to defeat Zhao Fu's soldiers. Zhao Fu had expected this outcome, mainly because hidden evil was simply too useful. It had caused the entire orc city to lose its ability to resist, and even the killing move that Zhao Fu had prepared with Shatter Steel Iron wasn't very effective. The equipment that Zhao Fu traded with the orcs had Shatter Steel Iron in it, but as soon as it touched Qin's equipment, it would immediately shatter, causing the orcs to lose their weapons and armor. On the other hand, Qin's soldiers were well equipped, and no matter how ferocious the orcs were, they wouldn't be able to defeat Qin's soldiers. It was a pity that hidden evil was too powerful, so the Shatter Steel Iron was useless. However, it could still be collected and sold to the next orc. Zhao Fu was quite surprised that there were still so many city creation stones. He had thought that the orcs had destroyed all of the villages that they had conquered, and he hadn't expected them to still be here. Zhao Fu guessed that Gunador, the old orc who was filled with wisdom, would have been able to see far into the future. It was a pity that everything had gone to him, and Gunador had been killed by his subordinates. Chapter 345. Your Majesty, the 20,000 slaves who have surrendered want to see you. Just as Bai Qi finished reporting everything, Zhao Fu fell into deep thought, and Doke came to report to him, interrupting Zhao Fu's thoughts. Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded, and Doke brought 30 or so people to Zhao Fu. Half of them were kobolds, and the other half were goblins. The kobolds were led by a middle-aged kobold, and the goblins were led by a young goblin. These were all the leaders from before, and they respectfully knelt to Zhao Fu as they said, "Thank you for saving us, Your Majesty." Seeing this, Zhao Fu felt quite satisfied and smiled as he said, "You may all rise. If you submit to Qin, I'll definitely give you a stable life. You will no longer be slaves and will officially become residents of Qin." Hearing Zhao Fu's reply, the kobolds and goblins let out a sigh of relief. They had been worried that Zhao Fu would enslave them like the orcs, and they had seen how powerful Qin soldiers were. None of them were any weaker than the orcs, and even if they wanted to resist, they wouldn't be able to. Now that they heard that Zhao Fu wouldn't enslave them and would officially make them part of Qin, they were able to relax and immediately express their gratitude to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu had them leave and went to a large, empty area. There were many people tied up with ropes, and by now, they had woken up. Their expressions were all different. Some were panicked, some were afraid, some were hateful, and some were furious. Their bodies were still quite weak, because Bai Qi had only fed them a small amount of the antidote. It wasn't completely detoxified in order to prevent anything unexpected from happening. After coming to the group of orcs, Zhao Fu yelled in the orc language, "Your orc city has been conquered by me, and your city lord, vice lord, and #1 warrior, Badalai, have all been killed by me. Now, you must submit to me and become part of Qin. If you're not willing, I won't show any mercy." After Zhao Fu finished speaking, he ordered his men to separate the orcs who were willing to submit and those who were not. They started with the orc soldiers. These Beastman soldiers were very loyal to Kaki, and they all looked at Zhao Fu with hatred. They looked as if they wanted to kill Zhao Fu, and they shouted, "Beastmen will never surrender," in an attempt to convince the other Beastmen not to surrender. Looking at these people, Zhao Fu's gaze became cold, and he dragged out 5,000 orcs who had resisted the most ferociously. He dragged them in front of the countless orcs and had them kneel in a row. "Kill!" Zhao Fu coldly gave the order, and the soldiers raised their swords and swung them down heavily. Heads rolled to the ground, and the headless corpses also powerlessly fell to the ground. Large amounts of blood flowed out from their necks, instantly dyeing the ground red, and the stench of blood spread out. Continue. Zhao Fu coldly looked at these orcs and continued to give orders. This time, he dragged out another 5,000 elderly orcs. Because these elderly orcs had been Kaki's subordinates for a long time, they were very loyal to him, and they were diehard. Zhao Fu didn't have much use for these elderly orcs, so since they wanted to die, Zhao Fu would help them. The elderly orcs were dragged out in front of the beheaded orc corpses and had them kneel in a row. A prideful elderly orc had a resolute look on his face, looking as if he didn't fear death, and was about to yell something. Kill! Zhao Fu wasn't interested at all, and he continued to give orders. The soldiers once again swung their swords, and heads fell to the ground. Headless corpses fell to the ground, and blood once again flowed out, causing the stench of blood to stab the nostrils. The scene became much quieter. However, Zhao Fu's cold voice once again gave orders, and another 5,000 orcs were dragged out and beheaded. The scene became quite oppressive, and an aura of terror spread out. This was a massacre, and if it wasn't a battle, it was a bloody massacre. 15,000 corpses lay on the ground, and the ground was dyed red with blood, creating a shocking scene. Within the boundless darkness, a blood-red star gave off a devilish blood-red light, and Zhao Fu sensed this slaughter. His blood-red eyes instinctively gave off a devilish light, and his heart became completely cold as he gave the order to kill another 5,000 orcs. As Zhao Fu killed more and more orcs, the blood-red star gave off a devilish light that became brighter and brighter. Zhao Fu felt a coldness in his heart, and his voice became eerie as he ordered a group of orc children, who were all under 10 years old and did not have much strength, to be dragged over. The soldiers immediately obeyed and ferociously walked into the crowd of orcs and started to drag out the orc children. The orc parents cried out and tried to stop them, but they were powerless. They could only kneel and kowtow, expressing their willingness to submit to Zhao Fu. However, Zhao Fu didn't move at all, and he didn't seem to feel anything at all. The soldiers dragged the children to the front, and Bai Qi and the other generals felt that something was off. Normally, His Majesty would have stopped long ago, and he wouldn't kill these children who didn't know anything. Even though the orc children didn't know much, after seeing orcs being beheaded, they understood what was going on. They immediately looked terrified and started to loudly cry. Slash! Zhao Fu's evil voice once again sounded out, and the soldiers obeyed and raised their large sabers, preparing to slash down. Wait! Bai Qi and the other generals couldn't help but step out and yell. Zhao Fu frowned and looked at Bai Qi and the others. Only now did Bai Qi and the others discover that Zhao Fu's eyes were glowing with a blood-red light, making them look like two blood-red rubies, and they looked quite terrifying. Facing those terrifying blood-red eyes, Bai Qi and the others' hearts trembled and their bodies froze. A cold and eerie aura flowed out from their hearts, and they felt an instinctive fear. The air seemed to freeze, and Bai Qi and the others' hearts rapidly thumped as they felt as if they couldn't breathe. All right then, release these children and check again. If anyone doesn't surrender, gather them together and kill them. Zhao Fu suddenly returned to normal, and the blood-red light in his eyes gradually dimmed. The blood-red star that had been hidden within the boundless darkness also returned to normal. Bai Qi and the others understood what was going on, and they inwardly let out a sigh of relief. Zhao Fu had been quite terrifying just then. Zhao Fu hadn't noticed what had just happened, and he left this matter to Bai Qi and the others. A while later, Bai Qi finished dealing with the orcs. After Bai Qi finished dealing with the orcs, most of them were frightened by Zhao Fu's massacre and chose to surrender. However, a small portion continued to resist, and Bai Qi killed some of them. Of the 250,000 orc captives, only 220,000 remained. Chapter 346. With so many people, Zhao Fu needed to properly digest them. Qin City was most likely made up of humans, and it would not be good to have too many outlanders. This was quite easy to deal with. 80% of Zhao Fu's other villages were human villages, and after a while, the number of outlanders that spawned would far surpass that of outlanders. Next, Zhao Fu relocated the Orc City and obtained 400,000 EXP. It was a pity that the Orc Wolf Den had also been relocated, so he did not receive any EXP. After returning to Qin City, Zhao Fu rebuilt the Orc City 1,000 kilometers away from Qin City and made Sar the city lord. He also gave him an SSS grade orb. The Orc City Lord Kaki, the Vice Lord Gunador, and the number 1 warrior Batalai were all SSS grade orbs. Their corpses were refined, and Zhao Fu obtained 3 SSS grade orbs. Because orc villages could only be used by orcs, and Sar was the first orc general under Zhao Fu's command, Zhao Fu decided to give the Orc City to him. Moreover, Zhao Fu took out a stone seal. It was the Orc City Lord's seal. Zhao Fu had put away when he had killed Kaki, and it was smaller than before. Because it had become a subordinate city of Qin City, a portion of its power had been absorbed by Qin City. As long as Zhao Fu had Qin City Lord Seal, he could nullify the Orc City Lord Seal at any time. Qin City Lord Seal had also obtained a portion of the Orc City Lord Seal's power, making it much stronger than before. Now that Sar had become the City Lord and the City Lord Seal, Zhao Fu gave him a stage 2 Blood God Pill to help him quickly raise his cultivation. In the future, he would need to put in a lot of effort. As for the remaining 2 SSS grade orbs, Zhao Fu gave them to Zhang Dahu and Old Log, the 2 oldest generals. Zhao Fu also obtained 30,000 Blood God Pills for more corpses. Most of the original orc soldiers refused to surrender, so Zhao Fu could only kill them. However, 10,000 or so orc soldiers chose to surrender, and 80% of them were Stage 1 soldiers. Zhao Fu had obtained a lot of fate from conquering this city, and his nation armament and clan armament had both become stronger. Kaki City's destruction couldn't be hidden from the Forest of Horror's 3 other system main cities. After all, such a big matter couldn't be kept under wraps, so the 3 system main city lords immediately discussed among themselves. Since none of them had made a move against Kaki City, the only possibility left was that mysterious faction hiding somewhere. Seeing how the other side had been able to take down Kaki City so easily, Zhao Fu was quite shocked. The other side's strength had grown too quickly, and he was now a serious threat to the system main cities. The 3 of them couldn't help but think about this matter in order to deal with all kinds of things that might happen in the future. There was another faction that immediately discovered that Orc City had been conquered, which was the Zhou family. When it was time to trade with Orc City, Zhou Ming happily brought his goods to Orc City, hoping that he would be able to make a good harvest. However, after arriving at the Orc City, they saw nothing but rubble. The massive Orc City had disappeared, and Zhou Ming looked incredibly shocked. What faction had been able to break through such a powerful Orc City? Zhou Ming couldn't help but think about it. He immediately returned to the Zhou family and asked around to find out who did it. Zhao Fu didn't know about any of this. In the following period of time, Qin City entered a state of steady development. One reason was to properly digest everything that they had obtained from Orc City, and the other was to construct the city's various constructions. Qin City had been upgraded from a town to a basic city, and all sorts of constructions needed to be expanded, such as city walls and houses. Zhao Fu also ordered people to construct a city hall. Now, that Qin City was a city, they had to construct a city hall. This was given to the gnomes to design and create a majestic city hall, while the others were responsible for the construction. Zhao Fu didn't have much to do, so he took the One World rod and sat by a creek, fishing as he quickly cultivated. By now, Zhao Fu's cultivation had reached stage 1 to 9, and he was just a bit away from reaching stage 2. After obtaining Earth Grade and the One World Rod, his cultivation speed had become more than 10 times faster. At that moment, a soldier came up and reported that Xianru wanted to see him. Zhao Fu felt quite confused, so he went to the Westfall restaurant. Xianru was waiting for him at a table. and there was a sumptuous feast on the table. Seeing Zhao Fu arrive, Shinru gave a trace of a smile as she stood up and bowed to Zhao Fu, saying, "Your Majesty." Zhao Fu smiled and walked into the room. He nodded and sat next to Shinru as he asked, "What is it?" Shinru first bowed before sitting next to Zhao Fu and pouring a cup of wine for Zhao Fu, saying, "Your Majesty, I've come to apologize. I'm here to apologize and hope that your Highness can forgive me." Hearing Shinru's words, Zhao Fu's expression didn't change much. He raised the cup of wine and took a sip as he said, "Speak. What do you want me to forgive you for?" A trace of apology appeared in Shinru's beautiful eyes as she said, "Firstly, I've hidden my identity. In actuality, I'm from the school of Gourmet, as well as the school of Yin-Yang. Moreover, I'm from the Wood faction of the Yin-Yang faction, the Arbiter of Fate." Hearing this, Zhao Fu's expression didn't change. Zhao Fu could roughly guess that with Shinru's abilities and the fact that she had helped him many times, she definitely wasn't an ordinary person. Seeing that Zhao Fu's expression didn't change, Shinru understood, and she lightly laughed as she said, "So your Majesty already knew." In actuality, she hadn't gone out of her way to hide her identity. It was just that back when Zhao Fu had just established his faction, he had been extremely wary of everyone. If she had said that she was from the school of Yin-Yang, Zhao Fu definitely wouldn't have been able to accept it. Zhao Fu laughed as he said, "With your abilities, you didn't try to hide it, and I'm not stupid, so how could I not have thought of it? Your Majesty, you are indeed wise." Shinru smiled as she explained, "In actuality, when I first met your Majesty, I already knew your Majesty's identity. Your Majesty's fate and killing aura are simply too powerful, and only the 5 great ancient kingdoms, the Qin Empire, would have such a thing. Also, my surname isn't He, but Shinru." Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. As expected, he had been discovered the first time they had met. Back then, he had rejoiced, and he didn't pay too much attention to Shinru's name. "Speak. Is there anything else?" Zhao Fu asked as he looked at Shinru, as if there was something else. Shinru smiled as she nodded and said, "Finally, the sect master sent me here to apologize for the sealing. I understand, and I won't pursue this matter any further." Zhao Fu didn't pay too much attention to this matter because of Shinru. After all, if he pursued this matter, he wouldn't be able to make the entire Qin Empire go against the entire world. "Thank you, your Majesty." Shinru hadn't thought that things would end so easily, and she happily smiled as she bowed to Zhao Fu. She then picked up a pair of chopsticks and picked up some food as she said, "Your Majesty, please enjoy your meal. It won't taste good when it gets cold." "No need, come with me." Chapter 347. Shinru felt quite surprised and didn't know where Zhao Fu was taking her. She followed behind Zhao Fu and used a teleportation channel before appearing in another city. This place was quite lively and prosperous, and there were tall buildings and clean roads. There were indigenous residents, outlanders, and outsiders walking on the streets. Even though there were many different races, they all lived in harmony and didn't fight with each other. At the same time, this place was quite beautiful, and there were flowers everywhere. Even the air was filled with a faint fragrance, and all sorts of butterflies flew about. There were also people on the streets, and when they saw Zhao Fu, they would all respectfully greet him, "Your Majesty." Shinru had long since guessed what this place was. This was a place that the entire world wanted to know. Qin City. Shinru felt quite pleased, and she couldn't help but look up at Zhao Fu's back. She understood that Zhao Fu completely trusted her. Zhao Fu had long since trusted Shinru. Before, Great Qin's foundation was not very stable, and now that Great Qin had a basic city and 600,000 or so residents, it had a solid foundation. He decided to bring Shinru to the Great Qin City. "What do you think? As the first player to come to Qin City?" Zhao Fu suddenly smiled as he turned and said to Shinru. Shinru lightly laughed. "I'm extremely honored." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Let's go. I'll take you to meet the people in Qin City. Today, you'll officially be a member of Qin City." Xianru happily nodded in response. Following this, Zhao Fu brought Xianru to his residence. It was the first time that many people had seen Xianru, and they were quite surprised that Zhao Fu had brought a player to Qin City. Zhao Fu first introduced Xianru to everyone and gave her the authority to enter and exit Qin City as she pleased. She was also responsible for making sacrifices. Xianru's knowledge and strength were all extraordinary, and Zhao Fu needed someone like her by his side. Xianru had been waiting for this for a long time, and now that it had finally come true, she couldn't help but feel happy. Her fate greatly increased. Following this, Zhao Fu received a report from a soldier. It was from Heaven's Choice, saying that someone from Soldiers Alliance had come to Heaven's Choice and wanted to see him. Zhao Fu had almost forgotten that Wu Qingyang wanted him to get along well with Soldiers Alliance. Hearing this news, Zhao Fu also arrived at Demon Tree City. There were already 3 people waiting in the Heaven's Choice Hall. There were 2 men in their 20s. One of them looked resolute, while the other looked gentle. There was also a young girl who looked quite dainty. As soon as Zhao Fu came in, the girl tenderly snorted. "So you're Zhao Fu, not bad looking." "We're from Soldiers Alliance." Because in Heaven's Choice, Zhao Fu did not wear a cloak. He did not hide his appearance. This was the first time that someone had praised Zhao Fu for his good looks. In actuality, Zhao Fu was quite handsome, and adding on the many legacies he had received, his appearance had changed. He had become somewhat handsome, and most importantly, he had a unique aura about him. Zhao Fu recognized one of the 3 people. The resolute-looking one was Dong Junhua. He had never thought that Dong Junhua would personally come see him. He had already given Zhao Fu enough face. No, he was most likely giving Wu Qingyang face. Hearing the girl's words, Zhao Fu gave an apologetic smile as he said, "I'm sorry. I've been too busy recently and haven't been able to pay you a visit." Dong Junhua stood up and smiled as he said, "It's nothing. I also wanted to see just what kind of person Heaven's Choice's master is. It seems that he's not immortal." After saying this, Dong Junhua stretched out his hand and said, "Also, this is my little sister, Dong Ying, and my friend, Ren Changzhou." Zhao Fu politely smiled at the other 2 before saying to Dong Junhua, "Alliance Master Dong is the one who's not simple. Soldiers Alliance is now one of the top-tier factions in Soldier Forest, and Alliance Master Dong stands above tens of thousands of people." The 2 of them first exchanged some pleasantries before continuing to chat, establishing a bit of an alliance. However, Zhao Fu found that Dong Junhua seemed to like Wu Qingyang quite a bit, and he would occasionally ask how she was doing. His little sister even referred to her as her future sister-in-law. Zhao Fu did not pay too much mind. He only interacted with Soldiers Alliance to deal with Wu Qingyang. Whether it was Soldiers Alliance or Heaven's Choice, they were just small chess pieces in Zhao Fu's eyes. After watching Dong Junhua and the others leave, Zhao Fu finished dealing with this matter. On the way, Dong Junhua suddenly asked, "What do you think of Zhao Fu?" Dong Ying thought for a moment before replying, "I think he's not bad. He was quite a good-natured person, and he could be a friend." It was said that he was extremely strong, but his long black hair and blood-red eyes were quite strange. Could it be that he's fused with some sort of bloodline? At first, I thought that he was an indigenous person. Also, Big Bro, why are you suddenly asking this? Is it because Big Sister Qingyang cares about him and told you many times that she wanted to help him? Big Bro, are you jealous? Dong Ying suddenly stopped walking and looked at Dong Junhua with her large eyes. Dong Junhua lightly laughed and did not try to hide it as he nodded and said, "I'm a bit jealous, but I feel that he's not simple at all. He's definitely not as simple as he seems, and I'm afraid that Qingyang won't be able to control him." Ren Zhangzhong, who had been silent this entire time, finally said that Zhao Fu is indeed not simple at all. Even though he does his best to suppress it, the aura that he gives off is incredibly terrifying, and he also has a powerful, baleful aura. He's most likely killed many people, if not tens of thousands, then at least thousands. When Dong Ying heard Ren Zhangzhong's words, she was given a big fright and cried out, "Zhangzhong, don't scare me. I have a good impression of him. So why do you make him seem like a murderous demon king? Ren Zhongzhong looked at Dong Ying seriously and said, when you see his true face, you'll know that he's even more terrifying than a murderous demon king. All right. I know, don't scare me. Dong Ying's hair stood on end when Ren Zhongzhong looked at her, and she hugged Dong Junhua's arm, looking quite afraid. Ren Zhongzhong did not say anything else and lowered his head as he thought to himself, I wasn't trying to scare her. The first impression that Zhao Fu gave me was that he was quite terrifying, especially those blood-red eyes. They seemed quite familiar, as if I've seen them somewhere before. Dong Junhua smiled as he patted Dong Ying's head and said, Ying, there's no need to be so scared. He doesn't seem like someone who would kill the innocent, so he most likely won't do anything. I'm just worried that he's quite ambitious, and his eyes aren't just set on the forest of horrors. He wants to become a king and emperor. I'll tell Qingyang about this and tell her to be careful. Oh, Dong Ying nodded before asking, what about our cooperation with Heaven's Choice? What do we do now? Of course, I'll continue to maintain this. This will be very beneficial to both Heaven's Choice and Soldier Alliance. I heard from Qingyang that the real world is going to be destroyed, so I must expand Soldier Alliance and become a powerful faction in the future. I might even become a king or marquis, and only then will I be able to match Qingyang's status and marry her. Dong Junhua smiled as he spoke to Dong Ying. His gaze and heart were incredibly resolute, and Dong Ying looked at him with a look of worship. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.